We are calling the December 14th Board of Education meeting to order. We're going to start by acknowledging AB 361. For those of you who don't know, we have to review safety conditions every 30 days to make sure that it's still safe to meet in a hybrid function. So moving on, I'm so excited to introduce our new student board members. I believe, Tony, this is you.
So good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our student board members. This is a very historical moment for us and a very special time for our students and us as a school district. I first would like to introduce Katie Hale. She's a junior at Petaluma High School, where she takes active interest in many clubs and extracurricular activities on campus. She is the captain of the varsity's girls soccer team and has played on the team since freshman year. Katie is also the president of the Future Women's Leaders of Business and Industry Club. On top of that, Katie's involved on campus throughout Link Crew, ASB, Student Advisory Council, and Site Council. Outside of school, she takes part in club soccer for North Coast Soccer Club and volunteers at the National Charity League. Katie plans to apply for a four-year university and currently undecided with her major at this time. So welcome, Katie.
Welcome, Katie. So at this time, just like we do with our student board members who are elected by the student body at the high school, just like our board members are elected, the board members are elected by the population in the city of Petaluma. We're going to do an oath of office. So under government section 1360-1363, I will. And Article 20 of the State Constitution, and by the power vested in me from the state of California and the PCS Board of Education, please raise your right hand and you're going to repeat after me. Okay. I, Katie Hale.
I, Katie Hale.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties upon which I am about to enter.
The duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations, Katie, our newest student board member. So at this,
welcome, yes. Katie. We're so
at this time, Chris, maybe you can help me lift up her name plaque, and we're going to symbolically ask Katie to be seated here.
I love the big reveal on the name. Yay!
Congratulations, Katie. For our next student board member, I would like to introduce Malaya Cantor. Malaya Cantor is 16 years old and a junior at Casa Grande High School. Malaya is born of an immigrant Filipino father and white mother. Malaya is the president and founder of the Inclusivity, Objectivity, and Understanding Club, member of the Student Council Advisory, PTSA Diversity Representative, and Spanish translator at Casa Grande High School. She is also an active in sports, a varsity player for the girls volleyball team, and also plays on 18 Black Club team for the Marin Juniors. Malaya works with Petaluma City School branch of international nonprofit Diversifier Narrative, as well as the district Circle Up Train the Trainer program. Malaya also works as a youth advisor member with Teen Source, a nonprofit that works across the state of California to offer resources and to educate teens in regards to sexual reproductive health. Malaya's goal in terms of college is to get into a UC school and study to become an OBGYN. During her free time, she loves to go dirt bike riding, fishing, surfing, snowboarding, and playing the ukulele whenever she gets the chance. Congratulations and welcome, Malaya Cantor.
So welcome, Malaya. Malaya, we are very, Cantor, we're very excited to have you here. So under Government Section 1360-1363, Section 3, Article 20 of the State Constitution, by the power vested in me from the State of California and the Petaluma City Schools Board of Education, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Malaya Cantor,
I, Malaya Cantor,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations, Malaya Cantor, our newest student board member. Malaya, congratulations. And if you could help me, Caitlin, we'll have Malaya take her seat up with the board. So Malaya and Katie, just want to extend again our deepest congratulations and appreciation for you being here. I shared a little bit, Tony, who and I did a little bit of just onboarding with Katie and Malaya just previous to the meeting. We talked a little bit about how important student voice is to this board. We've never had student board members before in Petaluma City Schools. These are the two very first student board members ever. And we talked about how in the CSBA conference and this summer, all of the work around our goals and objectives, how important it is for us to have student voice into everything that we do. And we really appreciate having you here in your eyes and ears, and your feedback is going to be critical to the success of this board and this district. And so with that, welcome, and yeah, thank you for being here.
So exciting. We'll have to get their pictures too up there, right? Hopefully we'll get their pictures up there as well. Yeah. So. Amazing. Thank you, families, for coming out as well. All right, and you guys, Malaya, Katie, please speak up at any time while you're up here. Okay, just make sure for Dave and Ashley to turn on your microphones. Okay. All right, so comments from the public on closed session items. We will open the chat. We have no public. Okay. So we are going to adjourn. We're going to adjourn to closed session. About 6:05. We're going to open the public hearing for the California Voters' Rights Act and Redistricting. Do we have Brandon? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Brandon.
Hello. I'm going to just take a moment to share my screen, if that's all right. Okay, can everyone see that? I'm sorry, can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see your screen. Go ahead.
Perfect, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. This is the final public hearing regarding the district's trustee area map options. My name is Brandon Lalonde, and I am with Fagan, Friedman, and Fulfrost, the firm that's assisting the district with its transition to a by-trustee area election system. Before we get into the maps, which I think are the focus of today's presentation, I first want to go over briefly what the California Voting Rights Act is and why it's important to us today. This is a law that took effect in January of 2003, and it prohibits the use of at-large election systems when those election systems either impair the ability of a protected class to influence the outcome of an election or to elect candidates of its choice. This is an extremely low bar and is far broader than its federal counterpart because it does not require intent. So it's much easier for prospective plaintiffs to bring and succeed on these claims against government entities. Proof of intent is not required, and there is no required showing of intended discrimination against a protected class. Another reason that this is troublesome is that there is a one-sided right to attorneys and expert fees for prevailing plaintiffs. But if the district successfully defends against one of these claims, there is not a reciprocal right to recovery. So what is a by-trustee area election system? This is the only safe harbor from a CVRA claim, and that's where a school district is divided into multiple trustee areas, and then a governing board member is elected only by the registered voters that live in that particular trustee area where the governing board member both resides and will be running. Current stage, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, we're on our 5th public hearing. We had 2 pre-map public hearings to solicit public and board feedback. Then we had 2 more pre-map or post-map public hearings at which we got direction from the board to create 2 additional map scenarios that were presented on Saturday. The demographer used the 2020 census data, and under Education Code 1002, each trustee area needs to be nearly equal as possible in population, with a 10% deviation permissible between the largest and smallest trustee areas. The criteria that the demographer considered in creating each one of these maps is that each map scenario must comply with the US Constitution, achieve population equality, as we already discussed, comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. Each of the voting districts shall be geographically contiguous, protect local communities of interest, be geographically compact, and not favor or discriminate against any incumbent, political candidate, or political party. Looking at the 2020 census data, the district has a total census population of close to 75,000. So that means that each of the 5 proposed trustee areas will have around 15,000. Looking at the, I'm actually going to go to the next slide, sorry. Looking at the citizen voting age population estimates, it shows that the Hispanic Latino population is about 12.6% of the district, and the Asian population is roughly 3.5% of the district. And these are the 2 largest protected minority classes in the district. That takes us to conceptual trustee areas, and this is scenario 1. The trustee area 1, which is the yellow area, occupies the northeast of the district. Trustee area 2 occupies the southeast of the district. Trustee area 3, the southwest of the district. Trustee area 4, which would be the blue area, goes from the central of the district out to the west central of the district. And trustee area 5, which is the pink area, would occupy from the central out to the northwest. Looking at the population variance, there is a population variance for the largest trustee area, which would be trustee area 5 of 2.1%, and the smallest of minus 2.2%, which is within the 10% overall variance. Looking at the Hispanic Latino populations, there is an increase in trustee areas 2, 3, and 4, and an increase in the Asian population in trustee areas 1 and 2. Now looking at scenario 2, again, trustee area 1 is going to occupy the northeast of the district. Trustee area 2 shifts over slightly and now occupies the entire south of the district. sorry, that's trustee area 3, which is in the pink. Trustee area 2 has moved toward the central of the district and occupies the green area. Trustee area 4 starts in the central and again moves out to the west. And the pink area, trustee area 5, has now moved slightly over to the west. Looking again at the population variances, this map is within the permissible 10% between the largest and smallest trustee areas. And again, increases the Hispanic voting power in areas 2 and 4, and the Asian voting power in areas 1 and 3. This is a look at scenario 3, where trustee area 1 has receded a little bit from the last scenario that we showed back to the east, and is now has the Petaluma Hills Road as the dividing area. Trustee area 2 still occupies the smaller central area of the district. Trustee area 3, which is the pinkish reddish area, still occupies the entire south of the district. And trustee area 4 remains the same in this scenario, with trustee area 5, which is the pink, moving slightly to the west again. The population variance for this map has the highest variance in trustee area 5 at 3.9%, and the smallest in trustee area 3 at 2.0%. This has Hispanic voting power increases in trustee areas 2 and 4, and an Asian voting power increase in trustee area 1 that goes all the way up to 4.8%. And this is one of the new maps that was presented on Saturday. Gives it a little bit of a different look than the rest of the scenarios that have been proposed so far, with trustee area 1 occupying the entire north in the yellow area. Trustee area 2, which is still the central green area. Trustee area 3 is now occupying the entire south of the district. And this is where it gets a little bit different as well. Trustee area 4 no longer has the finger that's reaching in to either of the other trustee areas, and now just occupies the central of the district with a dividing line at the 101 moving towards the central west of the district. Trustee area 5, which used to occupy some of the northwest of the district, has moved south and now occupies that area just north of trustee area 2. Again, I think the population variance here is shown to be within the 10% variance. And we also have Hispanic voting population, voting power increase in trustee area 2, and Asian voting power up in trustee area 5. This is conceptual trustee area 5. This is a little bit different, that it kind of stays to the themes of scenario 4 with some key differences. In this scenario, trustee area 1 still occupies the northeast of the district, and trustee area 2 stays central. Trustee area 3 still occupies the south of the district, but it adopts the same sort of schematic layout for trustee area 4 that scenario 4 had, where it occupies the central of the district out to the west, with taking away the problematic area that we addressed in the prior board meetings. However, in this area, in this scenario, trustee area 5 remains in the northeast of the, or in the northwest of the district. And I think there may be a typo on this population slide and the last one. This is now for the demographics for for scenario 5. In scenario 5, if we look at the population variance, the largest trustee area here is trustee area 1 with a variance of 2.6%. The smallest is both trustee areas 4 and 5 with a negative 1.9%. So again, we're still within the permissible 10% population variance. If we look at the Hispanic Latino voting population, there's an increase in voting power in trustee areas 2 and 4. And for the Asian population, there's an increase in voting power in trustee areas 1 and 2, which goes up to 4.8% and 3.8% respectively. So that brings us sort of to the close of tonight's presentation and discussion ideas that we offer for the trustees or the public at large would be, what maps do you like best? And specifically, what elements do you like or dislike about each map? This brings us to the end of our schedule. Tonight is December 14th, and this is our post-map public hearing number 3. Once the public hearing is closed, the district will move forward with an action item that would select a trustee scenario, as well as the years in which the election sequencing would occur. Final thoughts: this does not change overall district boundaries, does not change school attendance boundaries, and it does not change how the district is governed. This is still one district with common goals and challenges, regardless of what area the trustees reside. And that brings our presentation to a close.
Oh,
Can I just suggest why don't we open up the chat for public comment, allow the board to have a robust conversation, and then when the board's done discussing, we can invite anyone who has a public comment about this item to speak.
Okay, hello, thank you for that. I just have a clarifying question about scenario 5 and scenario 4. In terms of increased Hispanic Latino representation, you had mentioned in scenario 5 that it was trustee area 2 and 4 that had increase, and I also have trustee area 3 as an increase over 4 and 3. Am I reading this incorrectly?
So which scenario are we talking about?
5.
Okay.
You had said that there was an increased Hispanic Latino representation in area 2 and 4, but I also see an increase in area 3.
I think the difference there, Brandon and Maddie, the difference, right, Maddie, I think you're looking at the top over the total population. If you look at the bottom chart, it says citizens by voting age population, and so there's a slight variation between the overall population and the population of voting age. Do you see that at the bottom? If you look at the bottom, citizens by voting age, Hispanic, Latino.
No, but I'm looking at the percentage of the total population and the increase within that of the Hispanic vote.
And I think what he's talking about is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, I think what he's talking about, if you look down at that bottom chart, he's talking about citizens by voting age. And if you look at there, the trustee area 2 is 17.8, trustee area 4 is 12.9.
Yeah, I've got it. But the circles that you had and the yellowed out sections, anyway, it's fine.
That's precisely. That's exactly right. For looking at increases in minority voting power, we look specifically at the CVAP numbers, which would be the more darkened chart on those slides. So in those darker charts, that's where it really shows us likely voters, as opposed to individuals that are counted for the census, which could include children that would not be voting. So we look at the CVAP number and the percentages to see likely increased voting power.
Okay, thank you.
Brandon, I've got a question about scenario 5. On the border between trustee areas 4 and 5, there is a label for trustee 4, 2024. And it's blocking where that boundary actually is. And the reason why that's important, it's covering Cherry Valley, Mary Collins at Cherry Valley. And I'd like to know which district that school is in.
I don't have the school labeled in front of me, but it's something that I can find out in the next few minutes before the board takes action.
Do you know what the name of the street that defines the boundary between areas 4 and 5, right where that label is?
I don't have that in front of me. I would have to give the demographer a call.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from anyone? Caitlin or Ellen, Malaya, do you have any questions or comments? In the map? Okay. And does it look like we have any public comments on this? No, just me. Okay, all right. So I think that's it. And if we don't have any public comments, no other comments or questions from here, we will close this public hearing. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And would you like me to stay on the call until the action item, or do you think now is a good time to sign off?
What do you think, Matthew?
You want him to stay on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you get an answer from your?
Yeah, could we get an answer about Cherry Valley?
Yes,
Mary Collins to Cherry Valley, and then stay on through the action item. Thanks.
absolutely.
All right, so next item, adoption and approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve and adopt the agenda.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, recognitions, reports, and presentations. We've already done the student board members, but had you guys planned on reading that again? Or?
Yes, because
Okay.
now for the benefit of the public to hear.
Okay. And for Ellen.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Tony.
Tony, you want to come up? Sure.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm proud to present again our two student board members. A very historical time for our district and a wonderful opportunity for our student community. With that, I'll start with Katie Hale. She is a junior at Petaluma High School, where she takes active interest in many clubs and extracurricular activities on campus. She is the captain of the varsity girls soccer team and has played on the team since freshman year. Katie is also the president of the Future Women Leaders of Business and Industry Club. And on top of that, Katie is involved on campus through Link Crew, ASB, Student Advisory Council, and Site Council. Outside of school, she takes part in club soccer for North Coast Soccer Club and volunteers for the National Charity League. Katie plans to apply to a four-year university next year and currently is undecided in her major. And with that, I'll move on to Malaya Cantor. She is 16 years old and a junior at Casa Grande High School. Malaya is born of an immigrant Filipino father and white mother. She is the president and founder of the Inclusivity, Objectivity, and Understanding Club, member of the Student Council Advisory, PTSA Diversity Representative, and Spanish translator at Casa Grande High School. She is also an active in sports, a varsity player for the girls volleyball team, and also plays on an 18 Black Club team for the Marin Juniors. Malaya works with the Petaluma City Schools branch of international nonprofit, Diversify Our Narrative, as well as the District Circle of Train the Trainers program. She also works as a youth advisory member with Teen Source, and a nonprofit that works across the state of California to offer resources to and educate teens in regards to sexual and reproductive health. Malaya's goal is, in terms of college, is to get into the UC school and study to become an OBGYN. During her free time, she loves to go dirt bike riding, fishing, surfing, snowboarding, and playing the ukulele whenever she gets the chance. Congratulations to both of them.
Just want to again thank Katie Hale and Malaya Cantor for being our very first student board members in the history of Petaluma City Schools. And I also want to just recognize and acknowledge that this board who made it happen, and really shows how much value and emphasis we place on student voice and hearing from our students as we're making decisions. So as decisions are made, our five trustees we'll be asking for a student kind of how their feelings on the topic before making their official 5-member vote. So welcome, Malaya, and welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Next up, introduction of our new assistant principal at Casa Grande High School.
Hi, Erica. So we are pleased to introduce you our newest assistant principal at Casa Grande High School, Erica Noon. Erica assumed her duties on November 29th, 2021. Erica has 15 years in education, serving exclusively in the Rincon Valley Unified School District. While she started out as an elementary teacher, she has also served the district in a variety of other capacities. As a teacher leader, Erica led district committees, managed school-wide interventions, and led professional development. Erica has also served for 2 years as the student support coordinator in Rincon Valley. In this position, she directed interventions, led data meetings, coached teachers, managed paraeducators, and planned and organized assessments, among other tasks. Erica held the position of ELD Academy Principal for 4 summers. In this position, she ran the summer school program in Rincon Valley, serving English learner students and their families. Erica is excited to join the team at Casa Grande High School, and she looks forward to being engaged with the vocational programs, AP programs, small learning communities, and the many other unique programs that Casa offers. The reputation Casa has as a wonderful place for students moved Erica to make the shift from elementary to the secondary environment. She readies herself to build relationships in her new community and to make a difference in the lives of Casa students and staff. In fact, this was written before she even started. She'd already attended 2 football games. We are fortunate to welcome Erica to our PCS and Casa teams. Her love for kids and enthusiasm for education will be an asset to the entire PCS community. Please join us in welcoming Erica Noon as our new assistant principal at Casa Grande High School.
Thanks, Jason. Next up, introduction of new Director of Maintenance and Operations and supporting management staff.
All right, I think I'm going to take this one, but I also want to say it's including food service. I know it didn't say that, but we also have someone here for food service. So this has been a long time coming. You know, the Maintenance and Operations Department is such a critical department that supports our schools. And we wanted to make sure that the team we put in place was going to be passionate, dedicated, and committed to maintaining our facilities at the highest possible level for our students and our staff. And our food service department, the same way. You know, they really are feeding our students and our families under the Summer Seamless program and have been throughout the pandemic. And so I don't think there's ever been a time more relevant for food service and how critical that program is than it has been highlighted during the pandemic for the past almost 2 years now. So with that, I'd like the 4 of you to stand up, if you would please, kind of all come to the front. I don't get to bring them out very often, but I thought it would be good for you guys to get to know our team. So I'm going to start with Johnny. I'm sorry, John Weaver. So, you know, Edgar, our director of food service, resigned last October, and his last day was November 29th. So as Ray DeJamo, our retired director of maintenance / director of food service, has committed to coming in and really supporting us, and in our moving John Weaver into an interim food service coordinator. He worked with Ray for, I don't want to say the wrong amount of years, like. I've been here since like 21. Wow. And, yes, and did you go to school here? And I went to, yeah. I've given my whole life to this. That's right. He started out in food. Yes. So he started out in food service, working with Ray in the warehouse in particular. Was our warehouse coordinator for a long time. Shifted over to maintenance about 4 years ago, and then recently was promoted to journeyman locksmith about a year ago. Now that seems weird. Why are we making him food service coordinator interim? But his passion and his background really has been working in the food service department, and he knows all the people. I think that he brings this relational ability to come in and really work with the staff and help continue to build the team. So we're just super thrilled to have John Weaver come and join as a food service coordinator on an interim basis while we kind of relook at the department and see what the needs are. Ray is going to continue as director of food service on an interim basis for 2 days a week, but John will really be someone who I'm collaborating with a lot. So welcome, John Weaver, and congratulations. So with that, we have selected our new Director of Maintenance and Operations, Bennett Hawley, who you all know. So welcome, Bennett. He's been the principal at Kenilworth since I've been here. I think he was appointed the year before I got here. He was assistant principal there, assistant principal at Petaluma High School, lives in Petaluma, has his family here, has been a long-term really supporter and employee for Petaluma City Schools. And as he and I have talked over the past several months, I've really come to value and appreciate his passion toward thinking about a career change. I know I've talked to all of our maintenance crew, and I think that they really come to see Bennett as a leader and someone who can come into the department, bring those leadership skills and qualities, be working with me to kind of learn the ropes as far as how maintenance and facilities work. But we're just super excited to have him come and join the team. I'm in particular very excited about it, so welcome, Bennett. And then we have Carlos Espinoza and we have Guillermo Magana. Ray was teasing them because he told them they couldn't wear hats, because typically you'll see them in hats. So Carlos, I'll start with Carlos, I'm going in order. So Carlos Espinoza came here several years ago and was our head custodian at Casa Grande, and just an amazing head custodian. The fact that I knew his name and knew the value that he provided at Casa Grande, and has really mentored Dion Wilson, our new head custodian. He's just been a tremendous asset to Casa Grande, so much so that we promoted him up to journeyman plumber, and he's been working in the maintenance department and really has become a leader in the maintenance department. So what became very clear to me through all of these vacancies that we've had in the director of maintenance and our assistant director being out on leave is that we really needed to provide a higher level of support for our custodial staff. It became very, very clear to me. And having Carlos come into this role, bringing so many years of really knowing custodial, doing the job, being hands-on, and knowing how to support them at a much higher level, that I think we've been able to support them for a long time. We're just super thrilled about it. And he started day one back in end of September as an interim, just hitting the ground running and already making a difference. And I know the custodians have been so appreciative of his work. So welcome, Carlos. We're just thrilled to have you join our team. I don't know if I have enough time on the agenda to go into everything Guillermo's done for the district. But Guillermo Magana, he was over in transportation. He's one of our elite mechanics, one of our 2 elite mechanics who also work on the red fleet for the city of Petaluma. We welcomed him over into maintenance about a year and a half ago. And he's been working on our white fleet in particular, and tractors and mowers and all sorts of equipment. Has really come in and like completely redone the shop, frankly. He's just done a great job. And again, really became a leader in the department. It was very clear to me that as I watched him, that leadership came out. So in looking at the needs of the department and a new team, having someone who can really be a coordinator level, be that person who can support the maintenance crews that we have and our grounds crews, just became very obvious to me. I've spent the past 6 months really with Ray's retirement being much more hands-on in real time with our team out there. And I think having Guillermo come in and provide that hands-on support is going to help us really take maintenance of our facilities to a next level, and really maintenance of our classrooms. And I'll tell you what, nothing highlighted the need more than the drought and COVID. So ventilation and water have become everyday topics for me with our team here. So I'm just super thrilled to have Guillermo. Guillermo, how long have you been in the district? Like 25, 20?
No, I started on 2001.
Okay,
And,
so 20 years.
I'm almost like Johnny to do it all my life. I graduated from Petaluma High and joined the Marine Corps, and then after I got out, I decided to start as a bus driver, and then here I am.
So we're super thrilled.
So great.
Yeah, we're super thrilled to have Guillermo join our team. And I'm telling you, if Ray was here standing next to Johnny, this is the A team. Hands down, this is the A team. So just picture Ray standing there, because I'm just super excited about this. I was telling Matthew, I haven't been this excited about such a change for our district, and really as a way to support our team as adding these 4 in their new roles to this department. So welcome everybody, and I'm just I was super excited to have them come tonight. So I'm sorry if I've taken too much time. Anyway, congratulations, guys. And I don't know if I mentioned to you guys, have to stay to the end of the meeting for my budget report.
All right, thank you and congratulations, everyone.
Thank you.
I don't think I've heard Chris that excited about anything besides a balanced budget sheet, so that was amazing. All right. Oh, look who's there on the screen. All right, students of the month. Looks like we have Kenilworth first. Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all in person. Bennett Hawley, current principal of Kenilworth. I'm going to introduce our leadership student speakers tonight, Abby McSweeney and Eleanor Fee. Go ahead and take it away.
Kenilworth Junior High School is proud to introduce our December Student of the Month, Hannah Thors. Hannah has been chosen for the Student of the Month by her teachers because she is joyful, enthusiastic, and shoots for the star in everything she does. Hannah's teacher thinks she's amazing. Mr. Radke, Hannah's science teacher, says Hannah is constantly a model student. Each day, she enters science with a positive attitude and a genuine willingness to engage with the material, often generating her own follow-up questions to concepts in science. She is always ready with an answer when called upon, can be counted on to do her work and do it well, and is a sociable and helpful classmate to her peers every day. Miss Fahey, Hannah's PE teacher, says Hannah is a natural leader. She is extremely kind, responsible, and will always be respectful to everyone. We recently completed our rock climbing unit, and she was one of our trusted belayers. Hannah always works hard and inspires others around her to do the same. Miss Chavez from English has been very impressed, stating Hannah is a pleasure to have in class. She always is positive and kind, and her enthusiasm is contagious. She often volunteers to share work or thoughts in class discussions. For example, we recently read and then wrote our own memoir. She was one of the first to volunteer to read hers aloud. It was fun to hear since she wrote about the beginning of her friendship with another classmate. Hannah is a good friend to all, and I really enjoy having her in class. This award is well deserved. Hannah is academically excellent, keeping up with a 4.0 GPA during both of her years at Kenilworth. When Hannah is not working on her studies, you may be able to find her playing soccer with the North Coast Football Club or participating in community activities with her Girl Scout troop. Recently, Hannah won a state championship in her age group for playing soccer. Way to go, Hannah. Hannah's other hobbies include painting and drawing, listening to music, and recently learning to play the piano. When asked about her future goals, Hannah describes herself as a very ambitious person who always wants to do her best. Therefore, she has set her sights on an Ivy League school for university. Hannah says, many people go where they know they can. I want to go where I think I can't. Good luck, Hannah, in everything you do. Kenilworth knows you will go far. Congratulations, Hannah, for your accomplishments.
Kenilworth Junior High School is proud to introduce our December Student of the Month, Dahlia Jen. Dahlia has been chosen for Student of the Month by her teachers because she demonstrates leadership, kindness, and responsibility every day. Dahlia's teachers were unanimous in their praise for her. Mr. Quintua, Dahlia's history teacher, says Dahlia has been a wonderful student. She's always willing to share her thoughts and responses and always ready to roll her eyes at all of my lame jokes. She does fantastic work and is liked by all of her peers. Overall, Dahlia has been a model student both in and out of the classroom. Kenilworth is a better place because of people like her. Miss Martin, Dahlia's PE teacher, says she's a well-rounded student who brings her best to each class each day. Dahlia is kind, helpful, understanding, and works very well with her peers. She has demonstrated leadership skills in class, specifically in our climbing unit. She is one of our best belayers as she is trustworthy, responsible, and reliable. Dahlia is a treat to have in class and makes those around her better by leading by example. Miss Voldemort from English class echoes these sentiments as she states, Dahlia is a wonderful student to have in class. She works diligently and thoughtfully on all of her work. She gets along well with her peers. Especially appreciated is that she asks thoughtful questions, often ones that I haven't thought about or considered before. Dahlia has shown leadership in many ways on Kenilworth campus, specifically as one of the founders of the Pride Club. Dahlia says starting this club has made her feel proud, and she enjoys being part of such a wonderful community of peers. Dahlia is an engaged and motivated student, made evident by her 4.0 GPA, which she has maintained for both 7th and 8th grade. Outside of school, Dahlia participates in Taekwondo, soccer, a marimba ensemble, and she is enrolled to perform in Cinnabar's Theater's upcoming run edition of Our Town. On her own time, Dahlia plays the ukulele and enjoys making her own clothes. Dahlia already has big goals for her future and hopes to attend New York University Tisch School of the Arts, where she will earn a degree and likely pursue a career in filmmaking. Dahlia's passion, drive, and creativity and maturity are impressive. Kenilworth is incredibly proud of this young person, and we look forward to watching you reach all of your dreams. Congratulations, Dahlia, for your accomplishments.
So proud of you, Dahlia.
There's definitely a proud father right here. Congratulations. And for those of you who don't know, Hannah has already volunteered to be my campaign manager for next year. We go way back. So congratulations, you two. All right. So moving on to Petaluma Junior High School.
Hi, I'm Dana Rocca, and I'd like to introduce our presenters for tonight, Soren and Xavier. Soren, do you want to start?
Sure.
Thank you.
We are proud to present Isabella Bella Hudson as one of our December 2021 Students of the Month. Bella is a highly capable and motivated individual who enjoys a wide range of extracurricular activities. She was born on June 4th, 2008 in Santa Clara and has been part of our district for her entire public school life. Academically, Bella is a great student and a natural leader. She is in some of our most challenging classes and maintains straight A's. Not surprisingly, Bella's teachers really enjoy having her in classes. Bella's STEM teacher acknowledges her talents and says this about her. Isabella always works well with anybody. She comes up with implements unique, viable, and creative designs no matter what the project is. And her science teacher adds, Bella is an incredibly bright student and kind student. She works well with anyone as well as on her own. Everything that Bella does is at her best ability and is always done well. It is Bella's academic goal to continue to earn straight A's throughout high school and college. Outside of school, Bella is engaged in a variety of activities. She plays on a competitive softball team called Johanna Tigers. She enjoys arts and crafts, including painting, drawing, and woodworking. This year, she sold her Christmas decorations at the PJHS Craft Fair. She loves being with her friends and family and being with her dad while working on building projects and walking the dog. Bella has a host of fans, including her boyfriend, sister, friends, and parents, who wanted to express their gratitude and joy to know her. Her mom voices, I love Bella's heart, mind, courage, and soul. Bella is loving, thoughtful, and compassionate towards others and herself. It is a pleasure to see Bella's mind at work, as she is inventive, clever, creative, and bright. Bella is a beautiful person inside and out. She inspires me in so many ways, and my world is better because Bella is in it, her dad adds. Whether Bella is in school, on the softball field, or engaging in imaginative play, eagerness to learn, she is a joy to teach, coach, and parent. We are very pleased to honor this caring, creative, and intelligent young woman, Isabella Hudson, to the board, and we are pleased to have her represent Petaluma Junior High School as Student of the Month.
Wow.
Xavier, would you like to go?
We are honored to present Luke Noggle as one of our December 2021 Students of the Month. Luke was born in nearby Santa Rosa on March 4th, 2008. He has been attending school locally since kindergarten, coming into our district from Corona Creek Elementary. Through hard work and dedication, Luke has proved to be an excellent student and a fine athlete. He is an excellent role model for Petaluma Junior High and this community. Luke enjoys school and works hard. He has been a straight A student through both in-school and distance learning models. His PE teacher comments, Luke is a respectful and proactive student who gives a consistent effort in class. His teacher says Luke is a conscientious, hardworking, and works well with his partners. He's a pleasure to have in class. Finally, his art teacher adds these adjectives about her experience with Luke. Pleasure to have in class. Fantastic artist, hard worker, always tries his best. Positive attitude, kind, respectful, team player. Gets along well with his classmates. Luke looks forward to continued success in school as he advances through high school and eventually into college. Sports and teamwork are a big part of Luke's life. He currently participates on a local football team and lacrosse teams and looks forward to being part of this year's PGHS wrestling team. In addition, Luke enjoys hunting and is an active member of his church youth group. His family adds, Luke works hard, is easygoing, and kind. We are so proud of him. Luke Noggle is one of those all-around amazing students. We are also very proud to have Luke represent Petaluma Junior High School as a Student of the Month.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Congratulations, Bella and Luke. I'm sure everyone up here feels the same. I love hearing all of the positive comments, not just academically, but about you guys as people. So thank you. And thank you to our readers. Actually, at both schools, I didn't get a chance to thank the Kenilworth readers. So thank you. All right. Looks like we have Casa up next.
Should we do the site report first?
Students of the month.
Do you have students of the month, Carissa, or do you have the? If you have the board report and you're ready to go, that's fine. But do we know who's reading the student of the month?
Josie, somebody else is. I'm pretty sure that somebody else is reading the students of the month.
Okay, just hang on for a second. We'll promote them.
Okay, there she is.
Yeah, I'm doing the student of the month for Casa Grande. Okay, so Casa Grande's first student of the month is Elijah Stevenson. Elijah is an ambitious senior at Casa who displays a passion for learning in and out of the classroom. Elijah has excelled in his coursework while being enrolled at Casa, and he displays a passion for athletics. He has played varsity golf since freshman year and will play varsity baseball in the spring. Elijah is inspired to give back to his community and participates in community service as a member of the Interact Club. Elijah has also used sports to enrich his community while working as golf camp counselor at Rooster Run Golf Club over the summer and coaching Little League Baseball in the fall. After high school, Elijah plans to attend a university, hopefully UCLA or UC Berkeley, where he plans to study environmental science and policy. Elijah wants to utilize his degree to combat climate change through the implementation of sustainable renewable energy. He hopes to use his passion for helping his community on a larger scale, working with policymakers to create a national response to climate change. Outside of school, Elijah enjoys going to the gym and making memories with his friends. Our second student of the month is Dylan Peterson. Dylan is a mindful and committed senior at Casa Grande. Dylan works out every single day and plays baseball year-round, except for when he is playing another sport. He has played baseball for all 4 years of high school, 3 of which have been on varsity. He has also played varsity football for the last 2 years and basketball his freshman and sophomore years. His favorite class in high school was world history with Mr. McSweeney because it was consistently interesting and entertaining. His favorite subject throughout all 4 years at Casa has been math, starting with Math 2 and now Calculus BC. After high school, Dylan plans to continue his studies and his baseball career at either UC Irvine, UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, or the Santa Rosa Junior College. His major is currently undecided, but he has taken a particular interest in criminology and psychology. Dylan's family is extremely important to him as they have supported him and motivated him to become the best version of himself each and every day. Without his family, he believes that he would not be anywhere near the student or the person he is today.
Congratulations, Elijah and Dylan. Good luck to you guys with the rest of your college application process and in the future. But enjoy your senior year too. You guys have a lot going on.
And so just so the board knows, so at this time we would typically do Petaluma High School Students of the Month. They are all at a big soccer game, and so they're going to be Petaluma High will come in January.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Are we going to do students of the semester next, or yes, students of the semester? From McKinley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ani Larson, principal here at McKinley and Petaluma Accelerated Charter. And I'm here to present Lucy Campbell as our presenter for Student of the Semester for PACS.
Right.
I think she's here somewhere.
Hi, I'm Lucy Campbell from PACS Leadership, and I'm happy to announce our semester award.
You're muted, Lucy. We can't hear you. Oh, Ashley, can you type her a message?
Lucy, can you start again? We can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. For 7th grade, we have Kate by Law. Kate is an exemplary student who humbly pushes herself towards success in all aspects of personal and academic life. Kate has the quiet confidence of a leader, and she leads by example through kindness, dedication, perseverance, and determination. Kate is also extremely respectful, not only of herself, but of her teachers and peers alike. Kate's dependability makes her a wonderful academic partner, and she is always supportive of her peers when working in groups. Kate has the drive to do well in school, and although this is evident in her grades, it is also exemplified by the way she consistently pushes herself towards personal success. Kate is not only an accomplished academic student, but she is also a phenomenal student athlete. Kate has one of the fastest mile times this fall in PACS PE, and she is also a devoted competitive soccer player who enjoys cooking in her free time. Kate's parents noted that Kate was recognized by Meadow teachers and staff with the C.J. Banaszak Award, and was one of the 10 students from across the U.S. selected as a winner of the Young Writers 2021 National Short Story Contest, A Wander in the Woods, Tales of Adventure. Kate, we are so proud of the commitment and dedication that you bring to PACS. Congratulations and keep up the good work. For 8th grade, we have Chase Mandel. Chase's helpful and positive personality is noteworthy by anyone who interacts with him. His participation in the classroom is always purposeful, thought-provoking, and consistently shown. Chase's desire to do well in school has allowed him to keep exemplary grades at all times because of his extreme level of dedication. Chase has exceptional leadership skills during group work that is always productive and meaningful among his classmates. Chase is part of the PACS Robotics Elective and has been preparing for the Sonoma County Robotics Challenge. Chase's effort doesn't just stop with academics. He is one of the top PE mile times for the fall semester. Outside of school, Chase is an avid and very talented golfer and hopes to play on the high school team next year. Chase's parents noted, "We are very proud of his academic achievements. What we are so proud of is that he is the one responsible for his academics. He is the one who manages his schoolwork, makes sure everything gets done, and genuinely cares about what he does. His success is his own doing, and he should be very proud of himself. Chase, we are so honored to have you at PACS. Congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work."
Thank you. Congratulations, Katie and Chase. Again, I don't know how all these students find so much time. So very impressive. Thank you and congratulations again. All right, now looks like it's time for student board report from Casa. Thanks for waiting, Carissa.
No worries. So it's a pleasure to be here again. Is the presentation getting screen shared, or am I supposed to do that?
I will, yes.
Okay. Okay, well, while we're waiting for this to get up, it's a pleasure to be back here to present to you what we've been doing in the Big House since October. We've had a very eventful few months. So this is October through December at the Big House. So first things first, we had our annual homecoming week and events. So despite the weather requiring a last-minute date change, every aspect of homecoming week was a success. As mentioned at the last CGHS site report, our homecoming royalty this year was based off of the graduate profile outcomes. Winners were crowned as the Casa Grande Homecoming Court and were recognized for their broad literacy, high employability, civic engagement, and personal vision. We are very proud of all of our honorees and our court members. Speaking of homecoming, because our original date had to be pushed back because of rain, I'm sure everyone remembers that weekend that had crazy flooding where all the streets were closed and everything. We were supposed to have homecoming that night, so we ended up pushing it back, which made for an incredibly jam-packed weekend, you could say. So Friday night, we had our homecoming dance, which was a success on our football field. Saturday, we had the Egg Bowl, which ended in a gaucho victory. And the weekend concluded with Sunday being Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, Friday was a wear your costume to school spirit day. And as the ASB class went around showing off their costumes, Miss Hayflick announced her pregnancy in a creative and festive way. If you look closely, her shirt actually says a baby is brewing. So that was very exciting. And it was a great way to kick off a great weekend. So we held our Jumpstart SRJC application workshops, a total of 6 workshops. A combined total of 210 seniors attended. This is a record-setting number for us. Also record-setting, most students who attended completed the following steps. Most of them submitted an SRJC application for spring of 2022. Also submitted an SRJC application for summer or fall of 2022, submitted an SRJC dual enrollment form for spring of 2022, and learned how to log into their SRJC My Cubby portal. In years prior, at this workshop event, we've only been able to help them complete 1 or 2 steps, but our seniors this year were excited, worked hard, and completely rocked the workshops. The Student Advisory Council, organized and run by Assistant Principal Mrs. Lee, has been meeting monthly to discuss and brainstorm ways to improve our campus. The council is open to any and all students interested in making change. We meet at lunch every now and then, and we actually just had a meeting the other day where we just bounce ideas back and forth and have open discussions. Mark, I'm so sorry. I do not know how to pronounce this and I don't want to butcher it. So a co-author of the book League of Denial spoke to Miss Sharp's and Miss Campbell's classes in the library. This tied directly into the units being taught in sports medicine and English classes. He was a great speaker and the kids were very engaged. We had a great event put on by the environmental conservation students and the advanced environmental conservation students. It was an exciting night with the famous cake auction raising over $11,000 on cakes made by the program's seniors. This is a wonderful program that helps protect endangered species of fish in the area, and we are incredibly proud of all the hard work they put in. So each month at Casa, we've been focusing on a different graduate profile outcome. November, we celebrated the civic engagement portion of the CGHS graduate profile. As a Casa grad, we hope that all of our students are civically engaged so that they actively participate in their community and are committed to making a positive impact. They will stay informed, respect diversity of views, participate in the political process, and understand their rights and the rights of others. We will understand how the choices we make have a personal, local, and global impact. Then in sports news, our Gaucho wrestlers are having a monumental season. The wrestling team so far has taken first at 2 out of the 3 of the last few tournaments. Senior Ryan Noggle has been awarded Outstanding Upperweight Wrestler twice, and Senior Zach Babel has been awarded this award once. So we are very proud of our wrestlers. Parent Education Night. As part of a continuation on the Parent Education series, parents visited the Big House Library for a presentation of teen mental health and parents' roles in the process. The Gaucho Choir made their first appearance in Theater Square, performing some of their favorite pieces and leading holiday carols at the annual tree lighting. I am a little biased because I happen to be in the choir, but we sounded amazing. And it was very nice to get out into our community. More news from the music department. The entirety of the music department, including the choir and the 5 bands, being the freshman band, concert band, jazz band, and symphonic band. Sorry, that was, I misspoke. 4 bands and the choir. Put on a wonderful performance this past Thursday night. It was the first real performance since early 2020, and every ensemble did great. The music brought upon the holiday spirit, with the peak being Dr. O actually conducting a piece performed by the choir. Last week, upon noticing student mental health at a low point, Casa administration hosted a week of wellness with daily activities to promote wellness and mental health. These activities included chalk affirmation messages all over campus, sticky notes with affirmations on mirrors, teacher appreciation, a personal goal vision board, and the week concluded with a very fun dance party. So the drama department put on their first play of the year, and for the first in-person play since the initial lockdown in early 2020, the drama department welcomed several new actors and put on a show-stopping rendition of some of Edgar Allan Poe's most iconic pieces of work. This event was actually today. The entrepreneurship class hosted the annual holiday fair where students sold goodies. It's a great way for students to gain entrepreneurial experience and for students and clubs to fundraise. It's also a great way to get some baked goods and yummy treats. And I actually happen to know that the majority of at least the ASB class tables sold out of all of their food. And then upcoming in the Big House. So coming up tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, we have our final exams with periods 3 and 6 on Wednesday, 4 and 5 on Thursday, and 1 and 2 on Friday. Once period 2 is concluded, our 2-week winter break begins. This gives students and teachers alike 2 weeks to rest before the second semester and New Year. With that being said, teachers will be hard at work on Monday, December 20th to finish up the semester and get final exams graded. Overall, it's been a great semester in the Big House, and we are looking forward to the spring.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
And hope you enjoy your break as well.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, moving on. Is this you, Maite? Yep. Okay. Oh, I thought they weren't coming. Okay, that was just student of the month. Okay. Sorry. It's okay.
Do you want to give
her her flowers?
You need
Mom?
to give her flowers.
While we're waiting? Thank you for coming. All right.
Hello, my name is Jenna Hingy, and I'm a senior at Petaluma High, and I will be doing the site report for the semester kind of thing. So homecoming happened at Petaluma High, and it is one of our favorite traditions that we have. We had a spirit week, lunchtime activities, a parade, and a dance. The homecoming theme this year was seasons, with freshmen being spring, sophomores being fall, juniors being summer, and seniors being winter. As you can see on the slides, that is the senior float, and the seniors did win this year. We had our dance outside on the football field, and it was a very big hit because it was some of the students' first high school dances they've ever attended, and it just brought everyone together, and it was a very good time for everyone. Link Crew is a student-run club type of thing, which is made up of juniors and seniors who help incoming freshmen feel welcome at school, and it's almost kind of like a buddy system. And Link Crew put on a freshman movie night Halloween edition where they played A Quiet Place, which was voted on by freshmen. And it was a way for freshmen to meet other students of their age and connect with other people. JSA Fall State happened, where some of PHS JSA members traveled to San Jose to participate in Fall State. Petaluma High had 3 Spirit Weeks this semester, with Homecoming Spirit Week, Egg Bowl Spirit Week, and Holiday Spirit Week that happened a week or 2 ago. And Spirit Weeks are very important on campus because it gets involvement from everyone, not just students, but from teachers and staff such as the lunch ladies and even our janitorial staff. We had a Halloween costume contest where we had different staff members judge on funniest costume, scariest costume, most creative costume, best group costume, and best overall. And the winners won a little bucket of candy. We had a club food day, and it was an opportunity for clubs to raise money by selling different foods and snacks. And we raised $1,200 in total. And some items sold were like yerba mates, succulents, and any handmade items that people made. We had our annual class dodgeball competition, and the seniors won again. And it was a lot of fun because we haven't been able to do this in a while. And it has a really good turnout during lunch. Winter sports are currently going on with boys and girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, and wrestling. And the boys basketball team just won the Rose City tournament, which they haven't won in 30 years. So it was a very big victory for them. We had a door decorating competition where during second period classes were able to decorate their door this holiday season. And the winner was the counseling office. Ms. Stoll was the lead on that. And the image on the slide is the counseling office door. It had a little Christmas tree and it lit up. We have a holiday cheer drive every year at Petaluma High. This year we did more of a toiletry drive, not a food drive, where we received over 300 boxes of pads and tampons, over 150 boxes of toothbrushes, and over 150 shampoos and conditioners. We also got baby wipes, bars of soaps, and these items were all delivered yesterday to Una Vida, which is a local organization that helps Petaluma City families in need, as well as like other parts of Sonoma County. We had our band concert, which was last week or the week before, I believe. And it was really exciting for band to be able to perform in front of an audience again, because I haven't been able to do that in a while. And this image is of Drumline at a football game. They performed for the first time this year, like in front of the student section during halftime, and they had a lot of positive energy towards them. And we are hoping that they can perform at different sporting events next semester. And finally, we had Cookies and Cram, which happened yesterday from 3 to 5 p.m., where students got the opportunity to ask teachers questions before finals, and ASB had some cookies and chips and waters available for students. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so great to see everyone getting back the sense of normalcy, in-person activities. So thank you. All right, now Maite. break. You good? Yeah. Oh, yes.
So no, come up, sit. You're here. I'm just gonna stand by your side.
All right.
I just want to introduce this item, the presentation on Moyman Consulting. We talked as a board, setting board goals and objectives. And when we look at board goal 1.4, providing implicit bias, restorative practices, and community well-being training for all staff in their work with students, along with goal 3.4, intentionally building community to ensure that every student in our district can identify a trusted adult at school. This is really where, underneath kind of the umbrella of those board goals, where this presentation lies.
Thank you.
There you go.
And I will likely knock it over, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Harris, cabinet, staff, and community. Thanks for the opportunity to discuss positive behavior interventions and support and restorative practices with you this evening. So, thank you. So as Superintendent Harris mentioned, this is district goal 3, and in particular 3.4, a trusted adult in the community and restorative practices. So we have been working, this presentation is about how we support our kids in schools and how we create a positive environment for them to thrive. We had been working with Circle Up, and there was resounding information that was coming to us that it wasn't enough practical application for teachers and staff to be able to use it on a daily basis. We're not stopping that work, we're just redirecting it a bit to be able to lay a foundation for teachers and staff and administrators to be able to have a clearly articulated way of working with students and supporting them in a positive culture and environment. Thank you. So this is part of what's called multi-tiered systems of support. You've often seen, I'll show you the triangle in a minute, but it's really, there's an academic side to it and a social emotional support side to it. If you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide. So this is a pyramid. This is a pyramid from our discipline handbook. And tier 1 is really a universal approach. You affect the majority of your students through, in this case, family and student engagement would be a welcoming environment, and social emotional, you would have a social emotional curriculum. And in the column where it says positive behavior supports and restorative justice, Pbis is listed as one of the items. So it does match the framework that we've been working from in our discipline handbook. This is, I borrowed this from Fairfield Sassoon. It really kind of just narrows it down a little bit. And what a tier 1 would be, establishing school-wide expectations, teaching those expectations, a systematic way of recognizing that, fair and firm corrective responses. And that should work for the majority of your school campus. And everyone's speaking the same language. There's a through line from kindergarten to 12th grade, appropriate to each grade level. The second step is in the second tier, those are students who need that additional support. Maybe they need small group counseling. They might need some increased parent involvement. And then that upper tier are for students who need those very structured systematic supports, which may include mental health services. So you really want to hit about 80% of your student population in the first tier, and then about 15 and 5. It doesn't always work that way, and we all know that our students right now are having a difficult time. So those numbers aren't truly accurate under these conditions, but that's the goal. So what's Pbis? So it's teach the expectations, establish the expectations, teach them to the entire school community, some positive reinforcement, and also that there's consequences when things don't go well, but it's to be able to have a restorative path, and then there are consequences as well. But it's really about making sure that all school community members, parents, teachers, custodial staff, classified staff, administrators are all speaking the same language. It's really to lead with teaching to enhance relationships, climate, and culture. And these teaching opportunities happen at the beginning of the year, a few weeks into the year, after holiday breaks. So you're really reinforcing what those expectations are throughout the entire school year. So Pbis, a big part of it is collecting data, collecting where are your rough spots and how do you address those. When I was a principal, there was an area there was a tremendous amount of referrals coming from a particular area. So you really dig into that data and go, why is that happening? And you have a team on your campus that helps identify some of the areas that need additional support. So Pbis, you collect the data and then make adjustments. And the restorative work is layered onto this. So the expectations are very clear. And when restorative work needs to take place, your staff is trained to be able to provide that support to students. Thank you. So we kind of, our timeline, as we have identified at this point, are to train K-12 principals in existing meetings that they have right now, their principal meetings, during their Monday meetings. They'd be live webinars with Laura Moyman, who is a consultant in Pbis. It would be for the foundational implementation of it. We'd also be working with our student advisors. That's one of our target groups, to be able to offer them the training that they need to be able to do the work on the ground with students. Many of them are out on the yard with students. During the school day, they're working individually with students. And those would be a series of videos that from Laura that I would be facilitating with the group. Then we also have her, if this is approved, we also have the opportunity to have her here a week in March. And she does in the moment coaching. She'll stand next to you when you're in the middle of having a conversation with a student, and she'll help you with the language that you need to be able to work yourself through that. And she also holds principals accountable. She would hold my feet to the fire quite a bit. Where's the sign, Maite? I'll get it up tomorrow, I promise. Yeah, so she's really good and stays very focused on the work and supporting staff. She can talk, as I mentioned, to any group. Also, there's an opportunity, again, if this is approved, to have a training for all staff in the spring or summer. And she would do a webinar for parents so that they have a better understanding of what Pbis and restorative practices are. We also identified some measurable outcomes. There's an implementation rubric that staff would do initially and then towards the end of the year to see the growth. We would also be looking at referral data and look for a reduction there, also suspension and expulsion data. Our Youth Truth Survey and our California Kids Survey, Healthy Kids Survey, would help identify the climate conditions through the student's lens, the parent, and the staff. So we would be looking for an increased satisfaction and connectedness in those surveys. A little bit about Laura. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She worked in Napa Unified for years. So she knows the work. She consults across the nation and internationally. And there's a reduction in suspensions and expulsions. There's an overall better climate. When it first came to the school where I was like, I'm not sure that this is gonna work, but she turned me into a believer because I did see a reduction. The line that was waiting for me out the door decreased. So there was definitely a turnaround in the culture. This is not leaving the restorative practices or leaving Circle Up. It's just putting a pause on that so we can get some foundational work in place and then layer that work onto it so that staff has the tools they need to have that positive and welcoming environment where everybody's speaking the same language, the kids know what the expectations are, and we can help them through that. And then repair when things need it and conditions require it. So that's a little bit about the direction that we're thinking about going, and open for questions or comments.
Thanks. Yeah, I read the linked website that was on our board materials and watched her little video. This sounds great. It sounds like it's complementary to Circle Up in that, to me, this sounds very behavior oriented and immediate, while Circle Up to me sounds it addresses more attitudinal biases, and which are much harder and longer term to change. But behavioral things like this, it seems like it's more immediate. Is that a good take on that?
It is, and to your point about Circle Up, it's also the other thing that we want to do is wait for the Orinda study to help guide us in what direction we need to go with Circle Up, because they have a skill set that's needed, but there's also a need to really provide some foundation. But yes, you're right. This is really setting the expectations and then being able to know what the expectations are so you know how to repair what's happening. And it just provides that framework and that structure. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, the behavioral changes are both adult and child.
They are.
Okay.
It's adults help. It's helping adults learn how to communicate with kids and in the moment, and not end up in a power struggle, and find ways of correcting behavior and supporting students through difficult situations. So yes. Yeah, well, I said I need you to talk to parents too, because it has to be all corners of the triangle. We need parent support as well, because if we're all speaking the same language, there's far less confusion for kids. Yes. All right.
We have a question right here.
Sure.
I have a question about, so I know Circle Up involves students in their Train the Trainers program. I was a part of that. So I'm wondering if this new program would also have student
That's a great
involvement, or if it would be more for adults to help with students just at the schools, because I know also with Circle Up there was a lot of questioning about like if students teaching like school administrators was really helpful. So
that's a great question. At the secondary level, I'm sure there will be student involvement, particularly in the establishment of the work and having student voice present. Yeah, and Circle Up is not going away, so there will be a place for that. This is just the first step. So yes, to your question. Thank you.
Yeah, this sounds great, and the fact that you've actually worked with them makes me really happy. I like how affordable it looks, frankly. My only question is, are administrators higher up than principals also going to be involved in the process? Because I just didn't see it on the timeline.
Right, so this is kind of a dip in the pool. We're working with a couple of small groups to see what the response is so that we can make that bigger commitment. So ultimately, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. It really, I agree with everything that Caitlin said, and I was wondering about counselors and assistant principals also, because they're so fundamentally involved in behavior. But I also, in looking over the proposal, it all sounds wonderful. I think we really need that piece that wasn't being addressed, but I also saw a tremendous emphasis on online trainings and webinars. And one of the things that I felt, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I felt was lacking with Circle Up was that everything was on Zoom. There was no in-person. And I think it was one of the things that I felt, especially because of COVID, especially because of the needs that we have, that we need to have these things. That week just doesn't seem like it's going to get down deep enough. So that's my only hesitation, is that the limited success we had because it was all in that similar format.
Right. So Laura she does a lot of breakout rooms. She does a lot of engagement in the live webinars. And if we like her work and want to continue with it, she would come at a very frequent intervals. So this is
okay.
just like starting out to see, do we like her? Is it making a difference? Are we seeing movement in our data? And then she would be here more often with school sites, working with them.
So then given that, how, because this is for a semester, right? So what is the long range, kind of projection of how long we would be contracting with her?
A year to two, likely.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
My question was similar to Maddie's. Where is she based out of?
She lives in the Netherlands.
What?
How's she gonna come out here? How's she gonna come out here?
Oh, that explains why she's not here all the time.
Yes, so she comes here and works with school districts up and down.
Oh.
Her family is there for a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
So she still has
from Napa, right?
She's from Napa. Her family, she's there for a short period of time and still doing her work. But yes, she comes here. Some of it, and when COVID hit, she pivoted a lot of her work to an online setting anyway, because she couldn't be here. But she does come at a frequent rate and works with districts in the state.
Okay.
Yes, that was one of my questions too, but she's really good.
I also did Circle Up, and my problem with them was it was just not tangible. I couldn't, and so that's also my concern is webinars and Zooms are great, but with Circle Up, that's all we did was Zoom, and I got very frustrated by it, and really didn't see any movement. And so when we did a gender review, I thought she would be coming to our schools and going to the schools and interviewing students, and did I miss that somehow, or?
So when she's here in March, she would be going to the schools.
And will she go to all the schools?
We haven't gotten that far with the
Okay.
staff. She'll be here for 4 days. So there are some schools that are like, sign me up, I want her yesterday.
Right.
Right, so we'll see how many schools she can get to in that time period. And it's not a 3-hour meeting online, it's about 90 minutes, so it's half the time.
Oh, good.
So it's not as lengthy, and there's breaks built in, and like I said, breakout sections. So, and you're doing the work in the moment with her.
Okay.
As you're determining how this is going to work in your school site. So staff levels are talking to each other to help make decisions about how to best implement the work.
Okay, thank you.
So they get some work done in the session.
Who will make the determination about which schools she'll visit? Because I think part of the issue we had before is like people opting in, and maybe they should have been opting in and they didn't. And so I don't want to just go based on people who are like me, because maybe they don't need it. So
That's a great question.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with a process for that. Thank you for pointing that out.
Anyone else? Malaya, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay.
It sounded like part of the process was an assessment of the status quo, and maybe
Yes.
that could be built into which sites she would go to.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, when I did the first assessment, I had like 20%, so I was not very high but by the end of that first year, we were up at 60%. So, you move pretty quickly.
Well, and the equity study is coming out in February, so that'll be interesting in terms of that should help determine which sites are.
Yes, and how to bring circle up back into the work too, and where.
Or
we
at
can
least an
use-
equity
Yeah,
piece
where we
to
can
it.
use them effectively, because this is really about, this is about equity and making sure that our kids have equitable outcomes and conditions that help support them. Because as they need support, they're able to access that through the pyramid and tiers of support.
It makes you feel good that you've experienced her and had great success.
I have a very high standard for professional development, and teachers and principals deserve the very best, and I'm really very confident that she offers the best.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this to us.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
the issues that we're addressing, that this addresses, isn't something that one thing is going to fix.
No.
It's going to be a whole portfolio of things that we have to do together. So this sounds like a really strong piece to it.
We do need, yes, that's true. It's not a one and done. It's a menu, and it's ongoing, and it has lots of support that needs to continue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We're actually going to take a break for about 5 minutes. Okay, so we're now we're going to reconvene. Presentation on our family survey with next steps in regards to board goal 1.8.
So, and I just want to also address, so goal 2.1. So one of the board goals here around the desire to build programs that will attract and retain families in our district, and then a very specific, clear objective, goal around students will experience an excellent, diverse, equitable, and inclusive education. And then in goal 1.8, the district will develop a feasibility study and implementation plan for a dual language immersion program. And we have Esmeralda Sanchez-Mosley here, our Director of Educational Services, who we're going to do a quick presentation on where we stand.
Great, thank you, Matthew. Good evening, everyone. So a couple of board meetings ago, we give you information regarding this PCS elementary program survey that we were administering during that time. And so we're here tonight to share the outcome of those results and our next steps.
And the survey was for families with children at home from ages 0 to 5.
Yes, so we wanted the why behind this is a review. We wanted to pull parents on programs of interest in order to create and or expand programs that are relevant to our community. And then with that, analyze the results to determine what our next steps should be with elementary programs. We designed this survey to be very simple. We designed it for families with children ages 0 to 5, just as Matthew shared, with just 4 simple questions. Their name, ages of their children or child, their neighborhood school, and then with a list of different kinds of programs, we asked them to select their top 2 choices that they'd like to see in Petaluma City Schools. These were the program options that we included, very well-known programs, STEAM, dual language in multiple languages, Spanish, French, and Mandarin, visual and performing arts, international baccalaureate, environmental literacy, Montessori, Waldorf, service learning, traditional core, elementary virtual academy, and accelerated program. These were all the options. We had this survey open for a month. We really tried to branch out, have our elementary principals send it out. We worked with a company called Capitalist to see if we could get it out to more. It led to about 278 total responses. And this was some of the highlights. So the majority of the respondents have children ages 3 to 5. So just the population we're wanting to hear from. And these were the programs that had the most interest in order. So we had STEAM at 160 and Spanish dual language immersion at 108, and then sort of a smattering across the rest. You can also see the environmental literacy coming in at 54. And we know that we have we've got our resolution and things in place there. So this then led us to think about, obviously STEAM, all schools should have science, technology, art, right? The mathematics, those are all pieces that we really want to build and expand across all elementary sites. And so when we looked at these results, obviously Spanish dual language immersion was a program that was very specific, right? In terms of adding to our programming here in a very specific and intentional way.
Quick question, Esmeralda. So the numbers here, they represent families, right? They're not weighted by the number of children each family has.
No.
Do we have, but we do know how many kids they have so far that are 0 to 5 from each respondent.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
And I also think if you look at the responses, just to make it clear, 278 responses, if you add those all up, you're going to see double that. Everyone, they got to pick their top 2 choices.
So, right.
Which is why the numbers look the way they do.
So in this next slide, if you want to go to the next one, Ashley, we also wanted to show you that there is wide interest across the Petaluma community. And so this is respondents. The response is based on neighborhood schools. Also, we have a lot of people that maybe don't know or they're outside. Maybe not a lot, that's too much, 12 people. But it shows that across the district, there is widespread interest. And so with that, our next steps are to continue to integrate STEAM. This really validates and shows us that this is an important aspect that we need to be including across all of our schools. And our decision and our next step to really launch dual language immersion in our district. We've decided that McDowell will be the site to host the first Spanish dual language immersion class in fall 2022. When you look at the McDowell staff, when you look at the percentage of bilingual staff, when you look at having a bilingual administrator with experience in dual language programs, also a potential partnership that we're looking into for a teacher residency program, and to sort of build our own teacher pipeline, which is really important. This is also an opportunity to increase diversity at this school, to have it really be reflective of our community. And there's a lot of room for increase in student enrollment at McDowell as well. I don't know if there's anything you want to elaborate to that.
For all these reasons, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. And we have the opportunity, I think really those last 2 bullets, just to expand on a little bit, the opportunity to increase the diversity. Right now, we look at diversity across the district. We've been saying this for a long time, and it's hard as an administrator to sit by and just continue to watch this. We have very little diversity at McDowell. We need to bring the entire community in to the school and really increase the diversity there. And then also thinking about McDowell in its heyday being a school that had the capacity of 600 students at one time, and slowly declined down to about 230 students today. It offers us that opportunity to increase enrollment, increase diversity. Yes, and so I would say, Tony has opened dual language immersion programs in other districts. Esmeralda has been the principal at Flowery Elementary School, very successful dual language immersion program in Sonoma for the last 12 years. I was a teacher in a dual language immersion program. Samuel has vast experience in dual language immersion programs. We have the skill set in this district to launch this and be very, very successful. We know that we have a neighbor in town, Loma Vista, that has a program. And we've reached out to Old Adobe and spoken with their superintendent, and they're very supportive of having some collaboration in town. We think that there's the bandwidth based on the survey to support this sort of a program here. So. Any other questions?
Yeah. I just so on the STEAM, I think that's right. Is we need to integrate that across all of them. Yes. I think we also need to market it that way, because all these families with kids 0 to 5, they have choices beyond our district. They need to know that they have their priorities right here can be satisfied.
Absolutely right. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Great. Next up. All right, Chris, take it away. You have 3 minutes.
I've done it in as literally in as little as 30 seconds, so I can like, here it is. Any questions? So anyway, I do have a brief PowerPoint report. I have one extra copy if someone would prefer, if you guys want to share, if you don't want to look on it, if you don't want to look online. And I might refer, you guys all have budget binders. I might refer to some of the pages within the budget binders too, in particular, the spreadsheets. So this is a report on our first interim, which is basically reporting on the financial status of the district as of October 31st. It's the first of 2 reports that we do. We'll do another one in March, second interim. What's in the binder and what's online is a narrative and assumptions that kind of walks through the economics of where we are right now, what's going on with the state, what's going on with the district in particular. I also have the comparative spreadsheets, which we'll talk about. There should be the school services dartboard is also attached online. I don't see it in the binder, but it's also attached online. And that's kind of what we use to do our multi-year projections when we're looking at what are the future COLAs projected to be, et cetera, et cetera. So the School Services of California dartboard. Can we take that little square off so that people can see the PowerPoint? Thank you. Okay, so what is Petaluma City Schools? If you want to go to the next slide. So we're made up of these entities. All of these entities collapse into our general fund, as you know, with the exception of Live Oak, which is our independent charter. Next. We'll talk about the highlights in the spreadsheet in a moment. So let's go through the budget summary. So basically what I'm doing is I'm summarizing here, and this is where it gets really small for those of you who don't have a paper copy. But this is basically summarizing the spreadsheets themselves. So if you have a budget binder, turn to the spreadsheets that are before you. I'm going to kind of walk you through the first 3 pages. This is the total general fund, unrestricted and restricted combined, but I want to highlight some of what's in the unrestricted budget. So the first page is really our revenues. And if you'll notice, we actually had a reduction in our LCFF revenue that we're projecting from the adopted budget. The spreadsheets compare the adopted budget to right now. That's in part because our ADAs dropped a little bit at the charter schools when we actually look at our enrollment. And remember, we're not using 2019-20 ADA for our charters, or 3 charters, we're using projected enrollment. Didn't drop significantly, about 11 ADA. I think what's really in here and driving this $140,000 variance is whether or not we have to do the charter shifts in ADA. So those charter shifts are built in. I won't go into explaining to you what the charter shifts are all about. We're going to get clarification about whether those are really relevant or not. Because we're using 2019-20 ADA, do the charter shifts apply or not apply? So that, when we get the answer to that question at second interim, this may bump back up to what we were projecting in adopted budget, okay? Going down, not a lot of other changes to our local revenue, just what we would typically see like in local grants and donations, and some increases in contribution to special education. Going on to the next page, and feel free to stop and if you have any questions while I'm going through this, especially for our newest board member, happy to be interrupted if you want, if you have a question. Going on here, you're going to see some red in the area of salary and benefits. Some of this is typical stuff we see. We had a lot of transition, as my HR colleague across the table will know. We had a lot of retirements over the summer, a lot of shifts and changes, and of course we're capturing all those step and column changes as we finalize our staffing, and we do have some vacancies. If you look down in the employee benefits, that's where you're going to see greater shifts. And part of that is the state unemployment rate went from a 1.23% to a 0.5%. So we were able to capture that savings over the summer. And that's reflective here with that reduction in $179,000 for the unrestricted. And then also our workers' comp rate, we were estimating it when we adopted the budget at about 2%, and it came at about 1.76%. So we're capturing savings in workers' comp too. So that's some of the changes that you're seeing here. And of course, health benefits, we have some members who don't take it. Once we have our final staffing, then we know what our actual health benefit coverages are, and we make adjustments for that. I would also say part of the reduction in the certificated salaries that you see at the top is because we went through and did an assessment for the value of the 3 days that we added, the 3 instructional days, in order to charge them off to the COVID funds. So some of this reduction is based on that charging off of those 3 days, which is equivalent to about 1.5%. Okay. Looking down below in materials and supplies, you're going to see an increase in materials and supplies of just under $500,000. That's in large part because remember that local grants and donations, we pushed that money out to the school sites. It was about $390,000. So a significant portion of that is related to both the collection of grants and donations this year, but also the carryover from last year that we posted. Not a lot of other big shifts and changes. You can see down under other contract services, that's really related to supplemental counseling services at our school sites, so contracts for Sunny Hills. So that's primarily related to that. And then up in the 5,100 range, you'll see an increase, and that's related to the first student contract. So as we have been working with first student on what the actual cost for the 9 buses, bus routes that they support, we made adjustments for that. And then lastly, on the 3rd page, I'll just point out that we did reduce the amount of contribution to the cafeteria fund from 300 to 200. 200 is more in line with what we typically see. And that's in large part because we're doing the Summer Seamless program this year and next year. And that Summer Seamless program has really increased the level of interest in us providing meal service for our students very significantly. Unfortunately, that's really good news. The bad news is it's kind of overwhelmed our system because we're feeding so many students. But it also is having the benefit of raising some of those reimbursements under that program so we could offset some of the contribution. I'm hopeful that that might be even more. And then lastly, you'll see on that 3rd page, and I'm comparing column A to B, that excess of revenues over expense has changed slightly. It was impacted by that drop in revenue, but then it was offset by the reductions in the expenditures that we saw. Okay, so we went from having a positive 534,000 to a positive 448. That's relatively flat. I want to remind you, though, that we have not built in raises to this budget. So this is not including any money set aside for raises. Okay, so any raises come out of that savings account, which is that second to the last line, which is the available balance. Okay, so we'll go back, unless there's any questions, we'll go back to the PowerPoint.
Where's the available balance? This one?
Second to the last line, second to the last number, that 5.2 million.
Oh, on the bottom.
On the bottom, very bottom.
The 12 million?
5.2, the one just above it, the second to the last
okay.
number.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I won't take the time to go through the restricted side of the budget. A lot of the COVID dollars, I'm going to show you a slide that shows those COVID funds in a moment. Okay. On pages 4, 5, and 6, or 7, 8, and 9 of the spreadsheets are the combined budget, and that's what's reflected up here in the summary is the combined restricted and unrestricted budget. Okay, so basically we're comparing the adopted budget to the first interim or the first budget revision we're bringing before you, and you can see that the LCFF revenue changed by that roughly $140,000. The federal revenue has gone up significantly, and that is primarily, well, it's really related to two things: the COVID funds that we've received, which we'll look at in a minute, but it also includes carryover and deferred revenue from last year for all of our Title I funds: Title I, Title II, Title III, the other Title III, Title IV. So as we close the books, we then post revenue that maybe we received or we hadn't received, but we hadn't earned it yet. So we recognize last year's revenue this year. And then other state revenue, you can see, also went up somewhat. And that, again, is related to some of that COVID funds. Parcel tax revenue remains flat. When we compared it to what we actually received last year actually came in slightly less. And then other local revenues is related primarily to that bus, the $1.3 million we received in that bus grant for the electric buses. Going on to the next page, you can see the expenditure side of the house, and you can see, again, that adopted budget compared to first interim. And you can see our certificate salaries actually went up overall, where on the unrestricted side, you saw it went down. But overall, across the general fund, it went up about $600,000, or just under 600. And that's specifically because we added COVID-related expenditures in the area of adding reading specialists and so on and so forth, or adding school counselors. Classified also went up, and that was primarily because of COVID-related things like student advisors and guidance specialists. Employee benefits went down. So typically, if salaries go up, you expect employee benefits to go down, to go up proportionally. But because of that workers' comp reduction and the SUI reduction, we saw reductions overall. Going on to the next page, this gives you kind of a snapshot of the revenues and expenses, this totals from the prior two pages, but also shows them what is the impact on our overall general fund. And again, this is looking at combined unrestricted and restricted. So in the restricted, we always see much greater levels of deficit spending. Those are related to one-time costs. And so you would expect to see that. We're spending down that prior year carryover. Going on to the very next page, you'll see that this is looking at what is the impact of all of this on our ending fund balance and the components of ending fund balance. And you can see we're able to maintain our reserves. We're able to maintain the South County ending fund balance, because remember, South County is a part of our budget. They have their own reserves that are set aside, so we disclose that in the assigned of the unrestricted. And you can see how those changed from the adopted budget to first interim. And because our budget went up with all that carryover and all the COVID funds, and the dollar amount that those 2% and 3% percentages represent went up pretty dramatically. So we went from the 2% at adopted budget to just over 2 million to 2.4 million. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the STRS and PERS.
I have a question, just to see if I'm reading that right.
I'm on the state teachers retirement slide. Yes, go ahead.
So this is how I'm reading the ending fund balance, and I need to ask you if I'm doing it correctly. The total expenditures.
Can you go back one slide, please? Yes.
Were, for the revision number 1, we're 121 million.
Yep.
Plus, and our spending, and we're spending 10 million. 10,196,000 more than our revenue.
Yes.
So if the 10 million plus is from the fund balance, if you take that away from the fund balance, then it leaves like from the 12 million, then it leaves 2 million around. And how does that, is that all that's left? What I'm asking is like, if we have 2,400,000 plus to for our reserve, how does this, I mean, that means that we have not enough money for even the 2%?
No, let me.
So I know I'm misreading it, that's why I wanted to ask
So we're looking at
you.
the last page of the comparative spreadsheet, right?
Right.
So if you look at the very last number in column B, the very last at the very bottom,
Yeah.
12,437,000. That is the total, that's the total ending fund balance. So we have 12,437,000. Of that, there's 3% reserves of 3.6 million, sorry. 3.644, do you see that?
Yeah.
We have the South County reserves of 1.1.
Right.
We have our 2% of 2.429, and then available of 5.2. The sum total of that is 12.4 million.
So, but if you take,
No,
so
that's
that
over, that's
doesn't,
after.
that's separate from,
Because go back
Okay,
one
that's what I was
page, go back one page, and look at the very top of column B. $22 million was our beginning fund balance. Okay, so
Okay.
22 million was
Oh, got
beginning,
it.
plus the revenue minus the expense equals that 12.4 million. And if you go back one more page, because really you have to look at the restricted budget. So look at page 5. At the very top of page 5, this is the restricted only. We have 10.6 million of beginning fund balance of the restricted side of the budget that we have to spend down. So the majority of that deficit spending is the spending down of that 10.645. Because we budget the entire restricted budget. If we don't, then sites don't have access to their Title I budgets, or their Title II budgets. Ed Services wouldn't have access to their Title II. So we take that carryover, like the parcel tax has a significant amount of carryover. We push that all out. So we budget 100% of the restricted money, which creates on the natural deficit spending. But those expenditures are one-time in nature.
so what's the relation? Okay, go ahead.
No, so if you take the 10.6.
Yeah.
Minus that, see the deficit spending on page 7?
Yeah.
The 10.6 there, the restricted ending fund balance is 0. The restricted ending fund balance is 0, and that 10.6 million of it is spending the restricted side.
So that end balance of 0 is intentional.
In the restricted side,
Got it.
yes, it's always 0. So then if you go to page 11, see that 10.1, now it's only 10.1.
Well, that's what I was wondering about.
Because 10.6 is the restricted, but we have a positive almost 500,000 in the unrestricted.
Right.
Does that make sense? So
Yes.
really we meet our 5% reserves, which is the 2.4 and the 3.6, the 2% and the 3%. So we meet that, and we have 5.2 million over and above that. That's our savings account.
That's general fund.
And so you're not subtracting that 10 million from that 12 million?
No.
Got it.
No,
That
it's-
was like, yeah, okay.
It's a combination of from the 27.2 down, it's a
Okay.
sum total of that.
Right,
So
okay.
you're right. You don't want to take that 12 minus the 10.
And minus
It
the
already
10.
includes the minus the 10.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know this is basic, but it really gets.
It's a lot of numbers.
I
totally
know
understand.
that,
Education budgets are weird.
and I knew that I was misunderstanding something, so.
No, thank you for asking, because maybe other people have that question too, of the 10 people that are out there watching.
Thank you, Chris. That does make a lot of sense.
So now, Ashley, if you could go to the next slide. So, we talked about the cliff, and we're going to talk about enrollment in a moment. But part of the cliff that's coming up in 22-23, and the part that's concerning, next slide, Ashley, this is the STRS. And so you can see the historical increases. So for 40 years, we were at 8.25 or whatever it was. A long time, the state teachers retirement system, for every $100 we paid a teacher, we put $8 in a quarter into the retirement, okay? Now, for every $100 we pay a teacher, we're putting $19 into the retirement. So for every $100 we pay out without including anything else, it costs us $119. For every $1,000, it's $1,190 versus $1,080. So we're putting in, or 1,008, excuse me. So we're putting in a lot of money into retirement. And when you take that $100 and you multiply it times our actual salaries, it's a huge amount of money. And so what I'm showing you here is the contribution. So what we used to pay in about 2.3 million back in 2010-11. So 2.3 million was our actual STRS cost. In 21-22, it's 6.8 million. Now that won't balance to what you see in the spreadsheet because there's this thing called STRS in on behalf, and that's not a real thing. That's an accounting mechanism, so I pull that out. So you're not going to find 6.8 million. You're going to find more like 12 million. But this is true apples to apples comparison. Now our salaries have gone up, so some of it's because our salaries have gone up, right? But the majority of this is that our costs have gone up because it's gone from 8.25 to 19.10, or it will in 22-23. So go to the next page, because this actually shows their increases year to year, year over year. And it shows the projection. So back in 14-15, our STRS cost was 396,000. In 21-22, it's projected to be about 770. So it's almost doubled. And the rate goes up. Go back to the last page. The rate goes from 16.92 this year to 19.1 next year. That's according to the current projection. Now, I don't want to be henny penny and the sky is falling, but this is something we've been tracking on for a while. Last year at this time, they were projecting 22 to 2023 to be 18.1. So it's actually gone up, not gone down. The state has a lot of money, and so my belief is that when the governor's budget proposal comes out and then the whole budget process goes on, is that the state is going to put some money toward buying this out. They've done that before, and that's my hope, is that for 22-23, that's going to buy this down. But I wanted to point out what we're having to project in our multi-year projections as a first interim, because I can't use assumptions that I don't have a basis in something to use. It can't just be my own conjecture. And PERS is worse. Thank you for pointing that out. So 22-23, if you go to the next page, I've been to the next page, 22-23, it goes up, it increases by 843,000. That's not a difference between 770 and 843. That's an additional 843,000. So literally we've gone from at this 5.2 million, the sum total, it kind of explains the difference between the 2.3 and the 6.8 on the previous page. So literally our annual increases, if this happens in 22-23, our annual increase is close to $5.3 million. We literally are paying 5.3 million more per year than we were 10 years ago. That's a huge amount that nobody talks about. And the state didn't give us any additional money and said, hey, we know we're the ones who created the state teachers retirement system problem. It wasn't the teachers. It certainly wasn't the districts. It was the state who made decisions about how retirement's done. And then it created this huge liability that to pay off, to pay down all the retirements. And so they've come in and they've been increasing our rates. So anyway, I just wanted to point this out, because when we talk about affordability and we talk about why we can't do more things, this is a real additional cost. So then let's talk about PERS. Now the difference between STRS and PERS is the Public Employees Retirement System. So STRS is literally the state teachers retirement system. It primarily funds certificated staff. That's who are in it. PERS includes police and fire. It's much broader. It's not just public education. So PERS is the Public Employees Retirement System in the state of California. So it includes a lot of state employees. And the state doesn't control PERS rates. The state does control STRS rates. So the state establishes the STRS rates, but there's a PERS board that establishes the PERS rates. So the state doesn't have any control over the PERS rate setting. They do have control over the STRS rate setting. And so when we talk about STRS, there is the possibility, I would even venture to say the probability, that they're going to buy down that increase. And it's going to be less, far less than what we're projecting right now. PERS, that's not the case. And in fact, when I looked back, what I was projecting at this time over where it actually came in at, the rates came in a little bit higher the last few years than what we were projecting. So these are pretty real cost as well. So again, PERS historically 13.02%. That's what it was for years and years. Many years the PERS rate was 0, but the revenue under the former revenue limit, it recaptured that savings. So either way, it cost us 13.02%. So you can see the relative increases year over year, dating back to 16, 17. In 15, 16, it was actually 13.02. And you can see the increase. It's going to go from 22.91, which is what it is right now, to potentially 26.10, and then possibly 27.10. That $455,000 increase next year, that's the annual amount of the increase. That's in addition to the $475 this year and the $443 last year and the $290,000 the year before that. So again, you're looking at a possibility of $2.6 million over an 8-year period of time, and that's an annual increased cost. So these are real issues, and when we talk about salaries, to put it in dollars and cents, we used to pay out for every $100, 113, right? So 13% of 100 for those non-math people is $113. And now we're paying out for every $100, $127, or we will be 123 right now. So those are pretty big percentages on the natural. The total driven cost, not including health and welfare, right now is about 33.5%. So for every dollar we pay, we pay $1.33 for classified employees. And I don't mean CSEA. I am a classified employee, which means I don't require a credential to do my job. So classified employees includes management classified. And again, this wasn't created by the classified staff. It wasn't created by school districts. This problem was created by decisions made at the state level and the PERS board in particular. So when we look at the multi-year projections, this is included in there. And that's why when you see the large amount of deficit spending for next year, it's in large part because of two things: declining enrollment, or ADA, and these two factors. Those are the three biggest factors when we look at the deficit spending next year. And that's why I'm sorry I'm spending so much time on it, but I wanted people to have a true understanding of what we're grappling with, because these are real issues. I'm showing you historic numbers of it actually going up. Okay, so if that wasn't rosy enough, let's go on to our enrollment. So I'm giving you back to 2009-10. Our enrollment in 2009-10, which is 22 years ago, 7634. We lost almost 200 students from that. In 9-10, we were 200 students less than we were in 08-09. We know that that related to some changing of the McDowell area condo apartments that got converted to condos. 2010-11, we dropped another 86, and so on and so forth. But since 2012-13, really 12-11, 11-12, we've been pretty flat at about 7,500. We're up a little, we're down a little, we're up a little, we're down a little. And then look at 2021, we drop 144 students. Now, we didn't feel it last year from a revenue perspective because we're able to use 2019-20 ADA. This year, even though we projected more students, they didn't show up, in particular at the secondary level. So we dropped an additional 175 students. We're now at 7202 at Cbis. It fluctuates a little bit. Cbis hasn't been certified, so that might change a bit. But this 300 student drop is significant in that cliff for 22-23, because if we can't use 2019-20 ADA, then the revenue we're going to drive next year on is going to be significantly less. And this is assuming this year's ADA stays at our historic attendance rates of about between 95 and 97%, depending on the school. And we know based on the impacts of COVID that that's probably not happening. So I'm actually driving next year's revenue based on next year's ADA. I'm not assuming this year's ADA, because I think this year's ADA is going to be even less. We are projecting a little bit of growth, and there are some bright side spots. So just to highlight both sides of it, right? We know COVID has had an impact, not just on us, but districts up and down the state, across the nation. We have a lot of development going on in town. And so we have a significant number of new development over near the river by the In and Out, or the Humane Society. We have a significant development going on Petaluma Boulevard North. And then there's other developments sprinkled around town that I'm keeping my eye on. We've actually collected a significant amount of developer fees, which is good because we're expanding at McKinley and Pengrove and Casa. So I'm projecting a little bit of growth, like I'm talking 60 students next year and 24 the following year, because we also have implementation of TK. So kindergarten for all four-year-olds implemented over 3 years. So we're factoring a little bit for that. But this is another factor, because even if we build in 60 more students, if you go to the next page, kind of talk about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Cohort projections. I didn't even do cohort projections because they're so challenging to do right now during this pandemic. It's really hard to project where students are going to show up and not show up right now. We know we have growth. We just talked about that in implementation of kinder. So basically, we're assuming about 60 more students, coming up to about 72, 61, and then an additional 24. That's for an additional TK if we have it the following year. So what does that all mean? It means now we're projecting what do we look like the following year. And if you go to the tab, what's wrong there? That says supplemental information. The multi-year projections are on page 120, 119. And in a nutshell, what I'm showing here is we projected ADA at about 250 students less, 250 ADA less. We used the dartboard for COLA, very little other adjustments, some one-time expenditures, step and column for both of our bargaining units. The STRS increases, that 883, that 465 for PERS. We eliminated some one-time carryover, some CPI at 2%, that's inflation. And we know 2% is probably low based on the inflation we're seeing right now. And we eliminated 50% of the COVID funds next year because we know we've got until 2023-24 to spend it. So we eliminated about 50% of those. So if you look at what is the impact of all of that on page 119, these are the major assumptions. There's lots more, and that's in that narrative. I go into much more detail. You can see that the net impact is that we're deficit spending at close to $1.9 million. So Maddie, to your point, that savings account, that 5.2 million, that available, this 1.9 comes right out of that. Mm-hmm. See how on E2 in column C, it's now 4.1. And see how that 10,538 was 12. So this deficit, because it's in the unrestricted, comes right out of that. And then look at the following year. So we know that the STRS increase gets hit 22, 23, and then it's no increase the following year. And the PERS increase goes down to only 1%. So that's why it's so much less in the following year. It's only about 450,000. So I know I've spent a little bit of time on this, but I just want people to have an understanding. It's so confusing to hear the state say they have so much money And yet, why are districts like San Francisco Unified trying to stay out of receivership? It's because of these three same issues. These are the three exact issues, except for their declining enrollment has gone on for some time. Ours has not. And because they didn't make the decisions they needed to make to not end up where they are. And so that's why I wanted to just highlight all of this, because San Francisco is only one example. There are several examples up and down the state of districts that are struggling. And it's so counterintuitive because we hear that there's all this money. And there is. The state of California, you know, the wealthier are getting wealthy and they're paying taxes. That's why the state is doing so well. It's capital gains, it's property taxes. All of that stuff is why it's the state of California, and yet we have families that are struggling. So again, it's counterintuitive. How can the state have all this money when we know people are struggling? Well, it's because we, as a state, survive on capital gains from the stock market, from selling stocks and bonds, et cetera. So I'm almost done, I promise. So if you go to the next slide, the multi-year projections just highlight what I just showed you, that 1.9 million and the 448, and it shows the impact. We maintain our 5% reserves, and so that's the good news. We are totally fiscally solvent. I don't want to say anything less. That's where that savings account becomes really important. If you go to the next slide, on the more positive side, here's all of our COVID funds. Federal, these are just the federal. There's 8.2 million. This is also why it's confusing. We're getting all this money, but it's restricted in nature. We're supposed to spend it on certain things. So here are just the federal buckets, and this is not last year's money. This is all this year's money. So there's Gear 2, ESSER 2, the other ESSER 2, ESSER 3, the other ESSER 3, the other ESSER 3, and the other ESSER 3. I put in these acronyms. I actually have a thing that shows what you can spend the money on, like ESSER 3 is learning loss, that LL is learning loss. Each one of these have their own areas of focus, but there's a lot of overlap. COVID-related impacts. If you go on to the next slide, here's the state. So the state is about 5.2 million. ELO is the learning loss. 10% of that is specifically for paraprofessionals. I realize I'm missing a parentheses at my 90%. And then the in-person instruction, IPI, that's all things testing, PPE. Again, there's a lot of overlap because you can use it for other things, but that's a lot of like the health services. If we've added nurses, they get charged here. So we have all this additional money, and yet it doesn't help our unrestricted general fund.
And you can't use it for raises, correct?
No, but we did use it for those 3 additional instructional days. So that's.
Because that could be related to COVID.
Well, it's specifically targeted to address the COVID. In this summary, this is an old, I think this was left over from last year, so this is not relevant. And then that's it. So there's a lot of other information in this binder or online. The general fund, all of the other funds are here, so you can take a look at all the other funds. I would just quickly point out Fund 25 because we are in design for buildings, and if you look at under other funds, page 75, you can see that we've increased our other local revenue, which is those developer fees, from 480,000 roughly to almost 780,000. So we're tracking that very closely, and we actually collected quite a bit of money last year. So you can look at that ending fund balance, and actually there's an annual report in the board meeting tonight that kind of talks about what we collected last year. So that's all kind of in there as well. But this is in part what we're going to use to fund some of the building expansion we're doing at McKinley and at Pengrove and at Casa. So any questions?
Yeah, Chris, I'm focusing on that projected 249 loss in enrollments next year. Is it possible to separate those declines that are systemic, because that's California and nationwide versus those that are based upon choice of kids who are here in our boundaries. Is there a way to separate that? Because my hunch is there is a part of that decline that is unavoidable that we have to prepare for budgetarily, but other parts that we can try to shore up with dual immersion or other kinds of, curricula that can attract families to stay here.
It's a great question, and we probably have a way to do some reports in student services on the inters out. The challenge is there's so many charter schools in Sonoma County, and they don't have to do an inter. So kids leave, and we don't have the mechanism to track them. So that's a challenge. I would also say the other way that you look at enrollment projections, and usually I do this with cohort projections, is you look at how are kids matriculating. And I will tell you, when I looked at them, we have a very large 12th grade class right now, and we're projecting declines at both high schools next year because we have small 9th grade classes coming in. So if we're losing a 12th grade class in total of, say, 700 kids, and we're gaining one of 550, you automatically lose 150 kids, 9 through 12. I'm using hypothetical numbers, but so I'm looking at it from that lens, and we're going to be spending more time. We could probably come back in January because we'll have a better idea of kind of where registrations are, et cetera. We can do a little bit of looking, but the challenge is those charter schools. It's really hard to see when kids just don't show up. And there may be some anecdotal information we can collect from principals who know, well, we sent our CUME files out. I also think people moved out of state. I mean, I have to tell you, I have like 5 long-term friends that have moved across the United States. They've moved out. It's so I think part of it's that.
Maybe we can benchmark it against as a percentage as opposed to a number, what we're seeing in declines in enrollment across the state. Just so we have an estimate of that 249, how much of it is actionable that we can fix, or at least try to fix by, attracting families as opposed to ones that, that they are not, the lack of babies that we have to adjust for.
Like the population of Petaluma is going down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's across Sonoma County. I mean, they're sharing that Sonoma County over 10 years is slated to lose a significant number of students.
Is that reflected in the census? I don't know what that's, I'm trying to remember back on our census information.
I just remember from our conference the other week, when people were talking about the number one issue they're dealing with, everyone was talking about declining enrollment.
Everyone.
It is a nation. It is a nationwide problem. This is it's not a Petaluma problem. It's certainly in the state of California, and Sonoma County in particular, but across the country. It's just, there's been this shift in student learning, and the question is, how much of it will shift back? That's why it's really hard to project. When I look at normal ways that I've done enrollment projections for decades, and I can't, that's why I didn't present tonight, because I just couldn't get my head around exactly how to do it. We could consider hiring a demographer who would come out and really drill down into birth rates and to development and to preschools and so on and so forth. I mean, that could be an investment worth doing. It's not exact science either.
Right.
I've seen demographers come in and do reports, and then the kids don't show. You know what I mean? So it.
Well, I mean, it's all estimates. I guess all I would ask is if you have a hunch about, how much of this is systemic, that would be helpful. And another thing I wanted to ask, or just to, plant in your mind, is to keep an eye out on the Afghan refugee resettlement that's happening in Petaluma, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be an insignificant amount of families.
And that's a piece that those are the pieces of the bright spots out there for our community that I don't want to paint a picture that it's all bad. It's not all bad. There's a lot of really good things like development and like that. But I want us to also be aware that we need to start planning, because the reality is when districts have to face cuts, the earlier and faster they cut, the less they cut overall.
Right.
Ask San Francisco, because that's what's happening. And so I just want to give the board a heads up. I mean, the good news is we have a savings account that we can use to help buy us time to have thoughtful, to Sheldon explore some of the questions that you've raised.
Yeah.
But if our enrollment doesn't turn around, we're already going to be reducing staff on the natural. If the high schools drop 100 kids, we're going to have fewer teachers next year, because that's how we do our staffing. So there will be some reductions on the natural to address it, but I just wanted to give like the heads up that yeah, there are some challenges on the horizon, and there are some bright spots, i.e. the state has a lot of money. So hopefully they'll throw some money in an unrestricted way toward us.
We'll go yell at them.
Thank you for indulging me.
Thanks, Chris. All right, thank you. All right, moving on, comments from the public on non-agendized items. So let's open the chat. I know that we've gotten one comment in. But if anyone wants to make a comment, please put your first and last name in the chat and what you would like to speak about. I'm going to read our public comment language. Under Government Code Section 549.3A, members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the school district. While Government Code allows speakers to criticize the district's policies, procedures, programs, services, and/or employees, the district does have a policy specific to complaints against employees. Should comments from the public pertain to a specific district employee, the board requests that the complaint first be submitted in writing to the employee's immediate supervisor for investigation. If the comment is about something that is not on the agenda, it will be heard only during the public comment on non-agendized items, period. Once that part of the meeting is over, comments will only be taken on agenda items during the discussion of those items. The board values public comments, and although we cannot take action or discuss items not on the agenda, we listen carefully and appreciate input from the public. Public comments are subject to a 4-minute per person limit or a 20-minute limit per subject matter. Do we have any so far? Okay. Do you want to go ahead and read our first one while we're waiting? Mm-hmm. Is this on? No? Is it on? Okay.
I can't tell. Okay. This says, my name is Mario Vasquez. I have 2 children, one in high school, the other in elementary school. I have been part of ELAC and DLAC for over 8 years, and I've made suggestions regarding many things at the meetings, but nothing like the one I'm going to refer to. I know everyone is having a hard time doing the best they can, and I have spoken with principals, teachers, and students, and at all the meetings we've had this year. The emotional mental health of the students due to COVID is overwhelming, and the resources for help for them are not enough. Based on the information I've gathered from those people I've spoken with, the Petaluma Health Center and all the schools have waiting lists. For those reasons, I am reaching out to you for help. When you were in the process of election, I got a call from some of you asking for my vote. Now I am reaching out to you for the help we need. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Looks like we don't have anyone else. Okay. So moving on, report on activities and correspondence of school board since the last board meeting. We attended the opioid fentanyl parent info night, PCS family fun run, CSBA conference, LCAT meeting, budget advisory committee, and multiple board office hours at Kenilworth, Petaluma Junior, Casa, Adult Ed, Pengrove, Kenilworth, McNear, and Valley Vista. Did we get all yours? Yeah? Okay. All right. Comments from the public on consent agenda items. So if you have a comment on something on the consent agenda, please put your first and last name in the chat, an item that you would like to speak about.
It looks like we have one public comment. I think we can close the chat.
All right, looks like, is that Sal?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Sal.
Thanks. Hi, Sal Andropoulos, they them pronouns with North Bay LGBTQI families, and just wanted to address the plans for the Educator Effectiveness Block Grant, which there was a longer presentation about back in November. I just want to say that that sounds great, and like it'll provide much needed social, emotional, and academic support to all students, especially, you know, as youth and families continue to experience significant impacts from the pandemic. And just that this plan to have educators really be supported around, you know, student re-engagement and well-being and restorative practices, as well as around cultural responsiveness and implicit bias training, as it pertains to, you know, both things like school climate and advancing equity through curriculum, through, you know, things like the FAIR Act and ethnic studies and LGBTQIA plus inclusive health and sex education is critically important, especially in terms of having you know, cultural responsiveness and awareness training happen on the front end of any curriculum development or adoption process. And it just seems like this grant is you know, can really do a lot to support that. So I was excited to see the plan as it was presented, you know, last month, and just really thankful for the district's leadership on this. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Sal, for always being an active participant in our meetings. Yeah. Do we have any other public comments? Okay. All right. Moving on, adoption and approval of the agenda by consolidated motion.
I need to move to remove item 13.2.3 because I have to abstain on it. So
Okay.
I move to pull the purchase order items, which is 13.2.3.
Okay. We have to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
So I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second. All in favor?
Oh, I have questions.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
So you
sorry,
wait till
girl.
after- yeah.
I am like, yeah.
So-
We'll fire.
Yeah, I have two questions on 13.1.5, one of which I know the answer, but I'm just going to ask it for everyone else's edification. For Gary coming in to be the superintendent interim while you're on leave, how did we come to that number for his daily rate? It's your per diem rate.
It's
Yeah. Right.
It's based on the same daily rate as Matthew.
Cool.
So when we're doing those types of things, it has to be, even though he's a retiree,
Mhm.
it has to be based on either salary schedule or the superintendent salary. So it's based on that.
That totally makes sense. And then do we know how many days a week he's going to be here?
So I will be out on, my plan is to be out on baby bonding for the month of January. And we discussed this 6 months ago when I started. And so if you look at the month of January, 20 school days, so Gary's planning to come up to 20 school days. There may be a few Wednesdays where he's not going to be here. Up to 20 days, he'll be here most every day.
Thank you.
And I just logistically, I assume his email will be reactivated and all that. There'll be a way to contact him.
Correct. He'll be at the two board meetings in January.
All right. Anyone else? Any
So
questions?
he will have his email?
Yes. It's already up, it's already live, so.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you for that, yeah.
I just want to echo what Sal commented on the grants, Tony, and especially because of the one commenter before Sal about social emotional support for students, during the pandemic. I did notice on your plans, Tony, that the single largest line item on these grants is social and emotional support for students, address students' trauma and social emotional learning. So thank you. I think that's probably the right distribution.
Anyone else? Nope. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
We have to vote separately on 13.2.3, right? Can we get a motion to approve that?
I move to approve 13.2.3 purchase orders.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, comment.
One abstain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Comments from the public on action items. Same deal, we'll reopen the chat for about a minute. First and last name in the chat if you have a comment on any of the action items. All right, I don't see anyone in there, so we're going to close the chat. The first action item is AB 361. This is the one that we have to do every 30 days based on public health. Can I get a motion for this one, unless anyone has any questions or comments?
I move to approve board planning per AB 361.
I'd second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, agreement with Fordham for, this is you, Jason?
For
For
MFTs.
social worker?
Yeah. How did we get four?
Yeah, is it like online
I know,
school?
that's what I was wondering.
No, what? So one of our current staff, Jillian Jurek, arranged this with Fordham to support hiring a master's in social work student as a mental health trainee working at our school. So this was a program that could support the situation that we were trying to arrange at our schools. So we worked together to revise this agreement with them to kind of fit our needs because they are from New York. So some little adjustments, but it should be beneficial for us and for Jillian in supporting this trainee.
So this trainee is here, but they're attending
Yeah, is the trainee
online.
here?
Yes, yeah, they will be working here.
Okay.
Yes.
In person.
In
So it's
person.
like an online kind of arrangement with Fordham?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yes.
Okay. All right, any questions?
I move to approve the agreement.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
The biggie.
The biggie. Resolution to adopt CVRA trustee area boundaries. So I know we talked a bit about this on Saturday, the prior meeting. Is there any map that anyone would like to put?
So I just want to share the information. Brandon tells us that regarding the question I had on scenario 5, and he says as well as scenario 4, Cherry Valley would be in trustee area 4. So the boundary, I guess, would be what's it called?
Magnolia Avenue.
Yeah.
So it's in the blue.
Magnolia?
It's in the blue.
That's the road that divides it?
Yeah, that's not surprising since I can walk there from my house.
So I get, the bigger issue that
You're right.
underlies this to me was a comment that Joanna made at our Saturday meeting, which was trustee area 5 doesn't have any of our schools in it, which I know it doesn't have to because, you know, we have students, not the schools, but it is kind of odd.
That's
But
in scenario
it's,
5?
it's for both 4 and 5. Trustee area 5 doesn't have.
No, Pengrove is in it.
No, Pengrove's in trustee area 1. I mean, across the street, literally across the street.
Is it?
I mean, it's not a requirement, obviously, but it's just,
interesting.
yeah, it's interesting, and it's, you know, when we think about where our schools are, of course, you know, most of them are on the west side, because that's where the elementary schools are. So it's only a few that are on the east side. I'll say.
How is that different from 4?
It's not.
It's not. They're both.
Both of them, neither one of them have
Yeah,
elementary schools on them.
that's right. But
No,
I'll
I'm
tell
not-
you what one thing I like about 4 though, is how areas 1 and 5 are divided. You can kind of almost think of trustee area 5 as covering Old Adobe, and trustee area 1 covering the 1 and 2 school districts, Wa, Cinnabar, Liberty, Dunbar, Wilmar. So you can kind of think of it that way, just in terms of constituencies.
But those aren't our schools.
No, but we represent them when they come into
Oh,
our.
absolutely. I guess I'm not really clear on why not having an elementary school in a certain trustee area is important.
It's just a comment.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just
okay.
a comment that none of our schools are in there, not an
No,
elementary school, but
no,
just
I
none.
understand that.
Pengrove's not in the purple. It's not.
There's one school.
And that's in
In
scenario 4, right?
Scenario 5.
In 5.
Not in 4.
Not in 4, not in 4. Yeah, you're right.
In scenario 5, it would be in 5.
Yes.
Scenario 5 would have
Scenario
Pengrove in trustee area 5.
Okay.
Is that right?
Scenario 5 is my
Couldn't hear what you were
preferred.
saying. I don't think your microphone's on.
It's okay. I don't know.
I mean, and we're not like making these decisions on us because we're only going to be here for a limited amount of time.
Right,
It's about
right,
who's
right.
sitting in these seats for the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure
I
out.
like scenario 5.
Like I said on Saturday, I think that 5 has the boundaries that just make the most sense and uses the most main thoroughfares.
I agree.
And it's balanced in terms of population.
I mean, the maps are good, all of them are, so. Someone wants to.
I move to adopt the resolution with scenario 5's map.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
That was quick and easy.
here we go.
We did it.
I feel like
Groundbreaking
that's
board
record
meeting.
time. I
Yeah.
feel like that was, really
Wow.
fast.
First trustee districts, first
mean-
student board members.
I mean, come on, where's the
It's a good
press?
Interim budget
Jeez,
during COVID.
interim budget. Happy birthday, Tony. I mean, come on.
Oh, happy birthday.
It just keeps getting better, so, all right.
Thursday.
All right, moving on, we still have action items, sorry. Business services, first interim budget.
I move to approve the first interim budget.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Ooh, what is this? Will you actually keep it to 5 minutes this time? Okay. Resolution 2122-11,
11.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Looking at the wrong thing.
I move to approve resolution 2122-11
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Chris, were these the
All
development
right,
fees you were talking
future
about?
business. What is this with United Anglers?
We had a request to bring in United Anglers of Casa Grande for a student-led presentation, and then we're also kind of thinking about pairing that with Petaluma High School Wildlife Museum.
Perfect.
I need to reach out and have them come and present when they're able to come and bring some students, ideally in January. So.
Okay. I wanted to bring something up in terms of the Mormon Consulting. Am I saying that right? Mormon Consulting and the Circle Up pausing. Like, I love that they're addressing the behavior piece, but we're still missing the equity piece of Circle Up. So is there going to be anything brought in the near future to address that? Because I mean, like Sal spoke about it, this other gentleman spoke about it, like I'm sorry, it was Sheldon who spoke about the Afghan families, just like the cultural responsiveness. Like I don't want to pause on that part of what they were doing, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be addressed with Mormon, so. I don't know, I'm looking at somebody back.
So I don't think that oh, sorry.
Doesn't have to be Umaite. I'm just saying for future business, is there any sort of short-term plan to get that part addressed?
So there's never, from my perspective, there's never any pause on equity and making sure that we have equitable circumstances. I think what Laura's work does do, I remember Esmeralda speaking about this and how doing that work through Laura helps you identify areas that are not equitable and using the data to help improve the conditions for kids that, for all kids, but in particular kids that may be having consequences more frequently than others. So, and bringing Circle Up back in to do that higher level kind of work about implicit bias and changing hearts and minds is, we need the data that we're getting from the equity study to help guide that work a little more, because we're kind of not focused enough in that work to be able to have an impact in the areas that we need to have an impact in. So it's not, I think they all kind of work together to continue that push towards equity, because I don't think anyone here wants to lose sight of that. We just need some foundational work for schools to be able to continue that work and have fertile ground for that work to continue.
And I also think that right now Circle Up is sort of out there. And once we have the equity study, then we can direct them to focus more on what our needs really are, so it'd be more tangible.
I don't really want to wait for the equity study, because like it sounds like this has not been addressed over however long with Circle Up. And so to continue waiting and to ask our families and students to wait, I don't want to do that. So if we were able to address positive behavior and systems of support, why can't we also address the issues related to students who are marginalized based on their race, gender, sexual orientation? I mean, Sal is here at every meeting, like speaking to these things. And so I don't want to be like, you got to wait, Sal, and whoever, parents and students, until like February, March, April, where we were able to do this right away.
Yeah, I don't think the intent is to wait on continuing to do the equity work. I mean, we've had the forums, and in the principal meeting yesterday, we showed a clip of what the forum of the BIPOC forum that we had. We brought it down to some opportunities for principals to see what kids are saying and what their experiences are. So that work is still continuing. They're working alongside each other in parallel, and there are crossovers for all of this work, because restorative practices is a big part of Pbis. It really is. It's not It's not just, they don't work in isolation, they work together. And that equity piece is still happening. We're still working on diversify our narrative and for students to see themselves in the literature in the classrooms. And I'm looking at suspension rates and expulsion rates and who is being suspended, who's being expelled, who's leaving our district, why are they leaving our district? So all of those pieces are a part of this work to make sure that our outcomes are equitable across for our most vulnerable populations. I believe that it's all working together. It's not one thing, as I think someone mentioned earlier, it's not one thing that can address all of the issues. These are societal things that we have been a part of for many, many years. So I believe that it's going to take many interventions and many opportunities to improve those outcomes for our kids.
Right, but it still feels like it's not being specifically addressed. Like I didn't hear it specifically called out, like in the things, like the presentation or like in the materials that Laura provided. I did not hear anything about like conscious conversations, interrupting microaggressions, gender and sexual orientation, just the staff interrupting. There was one piece of circle up that they were supposed to be doing, interrupting comments made by students or other staff that may be discriminatory. That's what we heard in the BIPOC Voices Forum. Like, so that's happening. So it's like we need to actually like help our admin and teachers or staff or whoever is hearing these things to address them. Like, I don't want to wait. And I want to see something specific. So I'm just asking if we can find something by the next board meeting to address that. I mean, there are equity consultants all over this county. There are women of color, Black women doing this work in Sonoma County. I can think of Kirsten Lang, Nancy Dome. Like there's many people. I'm sure I saw Nancy Dome in Sonoma, so I'm sure you're familiar with her. Like, why can't we address that specifically? Like, I don't want, again, to keep waiting on this.
So to do something parallel with the consulting company.
Because that was the biggest piece of Circle Up, right?
Mm-hmm. Which
diversity,
not
right? And so I don't want to be like, well, we're only going to address behavior and not address that piece of it. Not just equity, but racism, just straight up, you know? So that's what I would like to see for future business. By the next board meeting or the one after, because I know we're coming up on break. So at least in January is what I'm asking for.
I mean, I have 4 asks. Yeah. Yeah. One's not till February, but if at the February board meeting, we could get an update on the HI curriculum and what's been chosen and making sure that we get those things started before the end of the school year. And I know y'all are on it. And then 2 things about, I want to explore changing voting in our elections so that the voting age is lowered to the age of 16 and or that non-citizens with green cards can vote. I know that in San Francisco, I believe they've done both. And so while they're not a model in a lot of ways, that I like those ideas.
So are you talking about the local elections, not
the only elections we control?
Right.
Yeah.
School board?
Oh, we control that?
Yeah.
I had no idea. I didn't know that.
We pay for it. And then lastly, I want to keep working with Karen to find a resolution about flags and make sure our schools know that they can fly the pride flag whenever they freaking feel like it.
And I was wondering, we have all these new programs through COVID money. Are we collecting data on what programs we may want to potentially keep even when the COVID money's gone? Or I would hate to think that they would all just magically disappear. There's got to be some that would be completely worthwhile in keeping. So I'm just wondering if there's how we're doing that.
With future business, we could bring in a presentation about the the position, the COVID-funded positions and the successes and the, what, you know, what is critical to keep and what is, so, I mean, that's all part of, that is all part of one-time funded positions and programs and things that we've done, starting with an equity study, starting with, you know, some things obviously you don't have to repeat.
Right.
But we could talk through sort of the way, you know, the way it was spent and any data that we've been able to collect.
I mean, maybe at the end of the school year would be the best time after we've seen. Thank you.
Abby?
Okay. Yeah, I know.
I'm sure y'all will get us at the next meeting. Okay, and with that, we are adjourned. Way too late.